Repeats the word, his voice laced with pure skepticism, unable to believe this guy is still trying to play the friendship card. Indeed, Ma Lingren says, his voice dropping an octave as he leans forward. Leiddon's eyes narrow, sensing the conversation is about to become very serious. Ma Lingren holds out his bowl for a refill, the dynamic between them instantly shifting from light banter to a high-stakes standoff. He puts on an expression of fake concern so masterfully that it would make a veteran actor weep with envy. The two bowls clink together again, but this time the sound is more like a death knell. They both take a drink, the silence in the room growing heavier with each passing second. Ma Lingren suddenly sets his bowl down with a sharp thud, his friendly demeanor vanishing. Leiddon notes that Ma Lingren's face doesn't look so good. Asking if something is wrong with the organization's golden boy, Ma Lingren tries to brush it off, but Leiddon pushes, telling him to just say what's on his mind. Our guy leans back, playing the part of a sympathetic ear while secretly fishing for more information. Ma Lingren looks truly distressed for a moment, his usual polished demeanor fading away to reveal a man under immense pressure. He explains that once the golden banquet kicks off, his father and all of his brothers will be arriving in the city. He grits his teeth and finally names his greatest enemy his own brother Mattia-kun. Leon plays along, bringing up the famous Grandmaster Ma as if he's genuinely impressed by the title. Ma Lingren completely unloads, saying his brother is a fraud who doesn't deserve the Grandmaster title. He claims his brother has done all sorts of despicable things behind the scenes, from plundering resources to cold-blooded murder. Leon scoffs, remarking that in the Jiang there isn't a single soul you can actually trust. Anyway, Ma Lingren takes another deep swig of his drink, the weight of his sorrow making him look like a truly tragic figure. They sit there surrounded by lavish food, two predators pretending to be vulnerable. Ma Lingren looks Leon dead in the eye, asking if he knows the real reason he's doing all of this. He claims it's just to take back the successor position his brother stole from him. Leon asks how he plans to do that, leading him right into the trap. Ma Lingren goes quiet, the unspoken plan hanging in the air like a guillotine. "So you're planning to kill him?" Leon asks, stating the obvious with a chillingly calm demeanor. Our boy gives him a look that's pure predator, his eyes locking onto Ma Lingren's face. Ma Lingren stays silent, the sound of pouring liquid, the only noise in the room. Then Leon drops the ultimate bombshell. "I'll do it for you." Ma Lingren's eyes widen in genuine shock that Leon would volunteer for the assassination without even being asked. Leon laughs, reminding him that he was the one who said they were connected by fate. He gives him a look that just screams, "I'm in too deep now." He's playing the role of the loyal friend to absolute perfection. Ma Lingren looks like he's about to burst into tears, staring at Leon with pure, unadulterated joy. He tries to refuse, claiming Leon will surely die if he takes on such a dangerous mission. Leon just shrugs it off, saying he's going to die in 1 year anyway because of the pills, so it hardly matters. Ma Lingren reminds him that they're researching an antidote right now, acting as if he actually cares about Leon's life. Leon's expression shifts to one of feigned frustration as he shouts that an antidote only matters if it's actually finished in time. He scoffs at the very idea that they'll ever actually manage to develop a cure. He sounds like a man who has already accepted his fate, using his chopsticks to idly poke at the food. His posture is both relaxed and defeated. He asks Ma Lingren if he takes him for a fool, pointing out that if an antidote were possible, it would have been made years ago. He tells Ma Lingren not to try and talk him out of it before he changes his mind about helping. "This is the first time in my life I'm sincerely stepping up for someone." Leon says the manipulation so thick it's a wonder he isn't choking on it. He looks down at his bowl, his tragic hero persona reaching its absolute peak. Ma Lingren looks at him speechless, as if he's just witnessed a miracle. Leon thanks him for all the wonderful experiences, from becoming a grandmaster to meeting a beautiful woman and even making a true friend. He pours one last drink, the liquid looking clear and deceptively harmless. He says it's best to quit while you're ahead, flashing a smile that's as sharp as any blade. He downs the drink in one gulp while Ma Lingren watches with a mixture of pure horror and hidden triumph. Leon sets his cup down and tells Ma Lingren that in return for the job, he has one final favor to ask. Ma Lingren leans in, his breathing shallow, asking what could possibly be left for him to do. Leon confirms he's going to kill Macon on the very last day of the Golden Banquet. He smiles, saying that since it's the last festival of his life, he might as well enjoy it to the fullest. Ma Lingren lays it on thick and starts crying, tears streaming down his face as he mourns Leon's noble sacrifice. Leon watches him with cold eyes, thinking to himself that beneath those crocodile tears, Ma Lingren is probably smiling with glee. He figures the young master is savoring the thrill of having completely bent a human being to his will. Leon lets a small, dangerous smirk play across his lips. It's the look of a man who knows exactly who is controlling whom. He thinks to himself that soon enough, those fake tears are going to turn into very real ones. They both take one final swig of alcohol, a silent toast, to a future that only one of them will survive to see. The giant cauldron in the center of the lab bubbles with a dark, ominous energy, the very source of the organization's power and corruption. Leon looks Lin Yanqing dead in the eye, telling her she's made a foolish decision by staying involved with this nest of vipers. She doesn't even turn to face him, her back still to him, as she notes that he must have heard the stories about what happens to people here. She glances down, a hint of sadness showing through her icy demeanor for just a moment. She sighs, saying she thought she'd finally found a good drinking buddy, but what a shame he's decided to go on a suicide mission. Leon steps a little closer, asking if there's really zero chance of him surviving the coming bloodbath. Her blunt reply hits like a punch as she tells him, no, there isn't. He just shrugs it off like it's no big deal. Our guy smirks, asking for one last favor before he bites the dust. He wants to know what this organization's endgame is, plain and simple. Yanqing stands her ground, saying her lips are sealed, and she can't possibly reveal the true purpose of their research. Leon plays the dying man card, asking if she can't show a little consideration for someone who's about to kick the bucket. His expression turns serious. He knows this is his chance to finally break through her defenses. He begs her to say whatever comes to mind, hoping for even the smallest scrap of information. She counters with some cold, hard logic. If he's going to die soon anyway, there's no reason to waste any consideration on him. Leon just laughs at how cold she is, noting that the martial world isn't just chilly, it's straight up ruthless. She lays into him, calling him out for not seeing people for who they are, for not listening, and most importantly, for having a weak heart. She gives him a look that could freeze fire, telling him that with weaknesses like those, he pretty much deserves to die. Leon feigns offense, asking if such harsh words were really necessary during a friendly chat. He chuckles to himself, admitting he's heard the same thing his whole life. She just stares, her expression a mix of curiosity and irritation at his unshakably cheerful attitude. Leon gestures toward the sealed room across the hall, asking what exactly is inside that's leaking such a terrifying amount of energy. Yanqing's expression darkens as she says simply that there's a very scary person locked in that room. Leon repeats her words, his mind already racing to figure out what kind of monster would earn that description from an S-rank expert. He realizes that if all that energy is coming from just one person, their power level is on par with his own back in his prime as the Alliance leader. He wonders who in the world could be that powerful and still be under the thumb of a guy like Ma Lingren. He gives an awkward cough, trying to lighten the mood before it gets too heavy. Then out of nowhere, Yanqing asks Leon if there's someone he likes. This catches our boy completely off guard, and he asks why the sudden interest, wondering if Ma Lingren said something to her behind his back. He smirks, putting two and two together. Just as I thought he's jealous, Leon thinks, clearly enjoying the fact that the red-haired snake sees him as a threat. Just as things are getting interesting, a knock at the door interrupts them. Number 2 announces that a new member has arrived. Leon turns his hero mask, snapping back into place in an instant. His eyes widen for a split second in recognition. This is no stranger. Number 2 steps in with a woman behind him, introducing her as a new asset for the organization. She bows respectfully, introducing herself simply as Number 7. Yanqing gives her a polite smile, welcoming her to the team and playing the part of a perfect mentor. Number 7 asks everyone to please take good care of her, her voice calm and composed. The guards turn to leave, leaving Leon and Yanqing alone in the lab once again. Leon watches the door close, his mind racing through everything he knows about this new player. He definitely didn't expect Number 7 to show up here so soon. Our guy's expression turns stone cold as he processes the implications of her arrival. He remembers seeing her in the crowd when he took down the slaughterer Manhwa, which means she was probably on a mission related to that target. He figures that since her mission failed and he ended up meeting Ma Lingren, the organization must have sent her here specifically to keep an eye on him. Yanqing notices he's deep in thought and asks what's on his mind. She teases him, asking if he's already thinking about the new girl. She gives him a playful, slightly mocking look, clearly enjoying his discomfort. Leon asks how she knew, letting out a nervous laugh that's 100% fake. She claims that men are always incredibly easy to read, then suggests they get back to their previous conversation. She asks what they were talking about, and Leon reminds her about Ma Lingren's supposed jealousy. He flashes her a smooth, confident smile that usually works on 99% of the population. She looks puzzled, repeating the word jealousy as if it's a foreign concept. Leon goes in for the knockout blow, stating plainly that Ma Lingren is jealous because he likes her. Yang Ying's eyes go wide, her cool composure finally cracking for the very first time. She bursts out laughing, asking if he's really aiming for something so out of his league right before he dies. She tells him to stop joking around, clearly thinking this is just another one of his smooth lines. Her laughter subsides as she looks away, the mood shifting. "I'm being serious," Lean says, all the earlier teasing gone from his voice. The camera pans down to a close-up of their feet, standing near each other on the stone tiles. He draws himself up, meeting her gaze with a gravity she can't just brush off. Leiddon's eyes are locked on hers, his heroic image blending with his genuine intensity. She murmurs a grim warning, "Every man who ever fell for me has died." Her expression is a mix of a dare and a final verdict, but Leon just grins, replying that it sounds like a pretty good deal to him. "I'm a goner no matter what," he whispers, and then just like that, he leans in and lands a kiss on her. For a brief moment, his eyes remain open, taking in her stunned face as he makes his move. She shuts her eyes, surrendering to the kiss, while the ambient light seems to brighten around the two of them. Breaking away, she tells him that was just a small sample of a forbidden prize given out of pity. She instantly reverts to her cold researcher persona and demands he get out immediately. Leon just stands there and watches her leave, her figure disappearing into the lab's shadows. Our boy lingers for a moment, looking far too pleased with himself for someone who was just told to scram. The scene cuts to a wide view of the city as dawn breaks on the biggest day of the month. An elaborately dressed man with a long beard gazes out at the masses, his expression one of well-rehearsed command. A larger-than-life announcer greets the distinguished guests from all over the Central Plains to the most magnificent festival on Earth. Fireworks light up the sky above the city, marking the official beginning of the Golden Banquet. The announcer declares that this celebration is especially for the merchants who make the world go round. He urges the crowd to hold their heads high and voice their opinions with confidence today. He proclaims that the merchants are the true stars of the banquet, a textbook example of charming the crowd. The enormous crowd erupts in a cheer so loud it could probably move mountains. The excitement is building to a frantic peak. The announcer then turns toward the stage, getting ready to present the evening's most esteemed guest. He introduces the cornerstone of the martial world, the one man everyone has been eager to see. Ma Fangji, the leader of the Murm Alliance, emerges onto the balcony, raising a hand and looking for all the world like its king. From within the crowd, Leon and the patriarch observe with cool, calculating expressions. Ma Tian stands proudly behind the leader, but Ma Lingren is also there, his head lowered in a show of false modesty. The camera zooms in on Ma Tiekin, the picture-perfect golden boy, completely unaware that he's a marked man. Malingren, on the other hand, looks utterly dejected, his jealousy palpable even from a distance. But the real person to keep an eye on is Leiddon. His blue eyes are icy and sharp, already planning the carnage that's about to unfold. As dust settles, a carriage clatters along a dirt path. It's carrying the very seeds of the coming betrayal. Ma Lingren glances at Leiddon, questioning if an ambush is even feasible, with so many top-tier guards on duty. Leiddon sizes up the targets. There's Mr. Lawo, the advisor, and the enigmatic number 3, who is always lingering close by. And then you have the main obstacle, the Heavenly Dragon 7 Swords, an elite squad whose only job is to protect the Heavenly Blade sect. Leiddon concedes it will be a challenge, mainly because the aura coming from those 7 swordsmen is nothing short of incredible, but he adds that the biggest problem is actually Ma Kun himself. Rumor has it the man is more powerful than all 7 of his bodyguards put together. His attention shifts to number 3, the impassive guard standing beside the advisor. He deduces that if he were to attack, number 3 wouldn't lift a finger to help. His role is to observe, not to protect. Mei Lingren points out that this is a stark contrast to Leon's dynamic with number 2. Leon figures out this must mean number 2 is the one assigned to eliminate Ma Lingren if the plan goes awry. He's also aware that he has to determine if there are any other concealed experts hiding in the wings that he's missed. Our hero's expression is one of sheer concentration, his mind running through 1,000 different scenarios for the impending battle. Ma Lingren simply nods, putting his faith in his hero to sort out the fine details of the assassination. Leon muses that Ma Lingren must be completely desperate to have his brother killed, but then he lets the audience in on a little secret. He has absolutely no plan to actually kill Ma Kun. This is all just a ploy to get under the red-haired snake's skin. Leiddon switches topics, bringing up a favor he'd asked for before. He wants unrestricted access to visit Yanking anytime he pleases. Ma Lingren agrees without hesitation, saying it's the least he can do for the man handling his dirty business. However, he lays down one firm rule: Leiddon is forbidden under any circumstances from trying to open the room opposite Yang's lab. Leiddon pretends to be completely unconcerned, claiming his only interest lies with the beautiful researcher. Now I can move about freely, he thinks to himself. His scheme for a complete infiltration of the base is finally coming together. A small smirk plays on his lips. He knows the very first thing he's going to do is check what's inside that forbidden room. Back at the lab, Lin Yangqing gives him a look that practically screams, "What do you want now?" Leiddon just laughs, joking that it's in a man's nature to pester the women they're interested in. She snaps back that if this is all about the kiss from the other night, then he's just being incredibly naive and foolish. She tells him bluntly that the kiss meant absolutely nothing, her words clearly intended to sting. For a moment, Leiddon's face falls, showing genuine shock at the rejection. She just stares at him, her expression a mixture of regret and cold resolve. Leiddon recovers in an instant, remarking that in a world full of cunning people, there ought to be room for a few foolish ones. He laughs it off, saying that since he's clever enough to come up with that, he can't be all that stupid after all. She holds her head, looking completely exhausted by his constant emotional gymnastics. Leiddon gives her a warm, genuine look, and it seems his persistence is finally starting to wear her down. His attention, ever sharp, is drawn to a wooden crate on the floor. He offers to help her with her work, but she just tells him to sit quietly and stay out of her way. "I'll be as quiet as a newborn," he promises, his expression turning hilariously serious. She quips that babies are at least cute, and he just laughs, bringing the light-hearted vibe back to the room. But his eyes remain locked on the crate, his internal scanner already taking in the text on the label. The label reads, Nangguan Escort Agency. Leiddon notes that he's never heard that name in his entire life. He figures the organization wouldn't entrust its secret shipments to some random agency unless there was a deep connection between them. The next day, the city is absolutely packed with people. As the festival reaches its peak, the market stalls are bustling and crowds of travelers from all over the Central Plains fill the streets. A lone man makes his way through the crowd. It's Kongju Khan, Leiddon's right-hand man from the Star Trading Company. He looks surprised, suddenly sensing a familiar presence nearby. Leiddon, disguised in a wide straw hat, whispers for him to have their intelligence agency find out everything they can about the Nangguan Escort Agency. He warns Kong to be extremely careful, as the people behind this agency are definitely not going to be easy opponents. Leiddon keeps walking, his face hidden as he melts back into the sea of people. There are only 3 days left until the final day of the festival and the day of the assassination. Kongju Khan watches him go, his expression a mixture of worry and absolute trust in his master. He nods to himself, already preparing to unleash the full investigative power of the Star Trading Company. Leiddon disappears into the crowd, the weight of the coming storm evident in his posture. That night, a soft knock echoes on the door of Leiddon's inn-room. He opens it, looking a bit grumpy until he sees who's standing in the hallway. His eyes widen in genuine surprise. It's Lin Yangqing standing there with a straw hat of her own and a bottle of expensive-looking liquor. Leiddon is speechless. This is the first time she's ever sought him out on her own. She asks if he's surprised, setting the bottle down on the table with a quiet clack. Leiddon jokes that he always thought it was his job to be the one knocking on her door. She gives him a dangerously charming smile, admitting that, as he knows, she can be quite aggressive when she wants something. She suggests they have a drink, and Leiddon is more than happy to oblige, even offering to get some glasses. She pours the drink herself, her movements as graceful as a dancer's. Leiddon watches, her noticing her usual coldness has been replaced by a strange, quiet intensity. They both take a drink, and the silence in the room is far more comfortable than it was back in the lab. Leiddon remembers Ma Lingren telling the old man to give it to him tomorrow. His brain is already connecting the dots. He asks if something unpleasant happened, noticing a flicker of emotion in her eyes. She remains silent for a long moment, her hand on her chin as she studies him. She lets out a soft sigh and looks down at the table. She tells him that if he's finished his drink, he needs to hand over the glass. Leiddon hands it back, his expression turning serious as he senses she's about to say something important. "It's not too late even now," she says, her voice barely a whisper. She tells him point blank, "You need to run away from this city as fast as you can." Her face is a mask of pure dread. She knows what's coming, and she doesn't want him to get caught in the crossfire. Leiddon stares at her, his usual poker face, finally giving way to a look of genuine consideration. He can tell she's thought long and hard about this, and that warning him right now is a massive, risky decision on her part. She begs him to just live happily for the 1 year he has left, insisting there's plenty of time to sort out his life later. Leiddon's response is a simple, heavy, "I don't want to." She glances up, her eyes wide with disbelief at his refusal. He tells her he has no intention of breaking his promise or spending his last year on the run like a coward. He offers her a calm, confident smile, the kind you see on a man who has already come to terms with his fate. Her voice trembles as she starts to say, "You really are," but she cuts herself off with a scream of frustration, unable to handle how stubborn this man is. Leiddon simply takes another drink, allowing silence to fill the room again as she processes what he said. She watches him from the side, her expression completely unreadable. She lets out a long, heavy sigh, her shoulders slumping in defeat. She declares that she might as well have a drink, in honor of the biggest fool she's ever known. Grabbing the bottle, she takes a massive swig, drinking with a kind of desperate energy. Leon wonders why she's telling him all this now, of all times. In a low, searching voice, he asks her why she ever claimed to like him. She looks down her face, flushing red from either the alcohol or the question. He chuckles, admitting that he likes her too, which is exactly why he's staying. She snatches her hat, getting ready to leave before she completely loses her composure. She insists she just wants to do this one thing for him. She pauses at the door, her back still to him, as she gives one final order. Tomorrow she begins. Her tone shifts back to that of a professional researcher as she promises to provide him with prescriptions and an elixir that will help him survive the mission. Then she walks out the door, closing behind her with a heavy thud. Leon turns toward the window, his expression becoming cold and analytical once more. He figures those elixirs are probably the exact drugs that cause the lethal side effects she's been researching. He knows without a doubt that the organization is setting him up to fail. If he fails the assassination, he was always meant to die anyway. The lights in the academy burn late into the night. It's the quiet before the most violent storm the Maram world has ever known. As the sun sets over the grand rooftops of Zhengshao, this is it. These are the final hours before the biggest power shift the world has ever witnessed. Ma Lingren, that red-haired snake, smirks as he looks at Lin Yanqing. He's really feeling himself convinced that tomorrow is the day he finally claims the crown. Our guy, Leiddon, just smiles right back, perfectly playing the part of a loyal soldier. He tells the prince he's never felt better, for someone whose life is supposedly about to end. Lingren actually tries to sound encouraging, telling Leiddon that he's certain to succeed. He's so confident in his own lie, it's almost comical. He clasps Leiddon's hand with false sincerity, promising that the antidote for the poison pills will be waiting for him once the mission is complete. Leiddon looks down, his expression unreadable. He's likely just cataloging all the different ways he's going to make this man regret they ever crossed paths. He's committed to playing the villain right up to the very end, but Leiddon isn't just an actor in this play. He's the one who wrote the script. Suddenly, Lin Yanqing steps forward, a look of deep conflict in her eyes. She's clearly reached her breaking point. She hands him a small pouch, explaining that it contains a pill to help his inner energy flow more smoothly during the fight. She looks away, unable to meet his gaze. She knows tomorrow's mission is a suicide run, and this is her own small way of trying to give him a fighting chance. Lin accepts it with a nod, promising her he'll see the job through to the end. He knows exactly what's in that pouch, and it's certainly not what Lingren thinks it is. But wait, Leon notices something is off about her reaction. He's sharp. He can always tell when someone is being genuine and when they're hiding something explosive. The exchange is silent, but the weight of their secret hangs between them like a heavy fog. Yanqing walks away, her head held low. She's obviously done with the organization's games, but feels trapped in the middle of it all. Leiddon is now alone with the prince, and the air grows colder as the true plan is revealed. Lingren drops the friendly act and gets straight to the point. He needs Leiddon to assassinate his own brother, Mattia-kun. Leiddon plays dumb, asking how he's supposed to help. He's putting on a great performance as a desperate man clinging to his last hope. The prince simply tells him to wait for the signal. He thinks he's orchestrating Mattia's doom, but he's actually just signing his own death warrant. All the while, Leon watches on with those cold, calculating eyes. The trap has been set, and the snake has already walked right into the cage. Finally, the last day of the golden banquet arrives. The streets are packed, and the energy is electric, with everyone completely oblivious to the bloodbath that's about to unfold. From a bird's eye view, the city looks like a massive chessboard, and Leiddon is the only player who can see every single move. We cut to a high balcony where the elites are gathered. The tension up here is so thick you could cut it with a knife. Leon stands there looking as stoic as ever. He's just waiting for the golden boy to make his entrance and speak of the devil, Mattia-kun, the Alliance's literal superstar, approaches. He seems confused as to why his brother would have asked the escorts to stand down. Leon addresses him respectfully as Hyung Nim, acting as if he has urgent news that simply can't wait. Takin stops his warrior's instincts on high alert. He asks what could be so important that it requires this level of secrecy. Lean doesn't hesitate to drop the bomb. A figure known as the Unnamed Warrior is coming to take your life. Lean keeps a close eye on his reaction. He's carefully planting a seed of doubt, trying to make the golden boy paranoid. Takan repeats the name, his voice laced with confusion. He certainly heard the legends, but he never dreamed he would be the target. He seems genuinely baffled. After all, he's a guy with practically zero enemies, so a random assassin just doesn't compute. He asks why anyone would do such a thing, and Lean just shrugs, putting on an act like he's simply the one delivering the news. Takan insists there's no bad blood between them. He's just too honorable to even consider that his own brother is the one pulling the strings. I couldn't say, Lean replies, letting the ominous possibility just hang in the air. Lean leans in closer, whispering conspiratorially, asking if maybe Takan committed some secret sin the world doesn't know about yet. Takan just scoffs. Takan is so confident in his own righteousness, which is precisely what makes him so easy to manipulate. Leon pivots, asking the golden boy why he's even entertaining this conversation. Don't you want me to die? Lean asks, testing the waters. Takan explains that even if he did want Lean gone, he couldn't stand by and let some nameless nobody take out the pride of the alliance. Takan thanks him for the warning and begins to walk away. Takan thinks he's safe now that he knows about the threat. Lean watches him disappear into a crowd of guards. The stage is perfectly set for the ambush. Meanwhile, the red-haired Prince Lindgren is watching everything from a balcony with a wicked grin plastered on his face. He's just waiting for the moment Lean strikes Takun from behind. In his mind, Lindgren is already celebrating. He figures Lean is going to die soon anyway, so this is just a convenient way to clean house. But then Lindgren's smile falters. He starts to realize that something is very, very wrong, and a sense of panic sets in. Why isn't the so-called unnamed warrior making his move Takun's back is completely exposed? Lindgren's face goes pale. If this opportunity slips by, his entire plan to frame Lean will fall apart. Just then, Lean calls Takun back into the conversation. Lean says he has more to share, but his voice is now chillingly cold. The friendly mask is beginning to slip. Takun turns back, his eyes narrowing in suspicion. The atmosphere instantly shifts from a hushed warning to a direct confrontation. Lean even points out how the mood has suddenly turned ice cold. He's basically leading Takun straight to the truth. He asks the golden boy if he's curious why the assassin still hasn't made a move. Takun's expression hardens. As a master martial artist, he can clearly feel the killing intent practically radiating from his own brother. At this point, Ma Lindgren is absolutely frozen in terror. He realizes the trap was never meant for Takun. It was for him. Suddenly, a flash of steel. A swift sword strike tears through the air. One of the guards is taken down in an instant by a masked intruder. Lindgren screams in shock. The chaos he orchestrated has finally arrived, but it's not going at all according to his plan. The guards immediately draw their blades surrounding the area. It's a tense standoff in the middle of the world's most important banquet, and Takun is absolutely furious. He demands to know the meaning of this outrageous attack. The intruder speaks up, claiming that Ma Lindgren was the one who blackmailed him into this assassination attempt. He even brings up the drugs Lindgren used to control his underlings. The redhead's face goes from pale to ghost white. Lindgren stammers, desperately asking who fed the assassin such lies. He's trying to maintain his composure, but his voice is shaking. Just then, Takun pulls out a letter. Apparently, he received a secret message yesterday detailing every last one of Lindgren's crimes. The redhead scoffs, dismissing it as a simple letter, but you can see he's sweating bullets now. Takun reveals that the letter came from the very same warrior Lindgren tried to threaten. He looks at his brother with nothing but pure disgust. Turns out the golden boy isn't just strong, he's no one's fool. Lindgren is completely cornered. He finally realizes Lean has been playing him from the very second they met. Takun explains that the letter predicted every single move Lindgren was going to make today, including this very distraction. He wonders aloud how some unnamed warrior could be such a flawless fortune teller. Lindgren screams that it's all a conspiracy, a set of false accusations designed to ruin him. He's totally losing it, but Takun isn't hearing any of it. He declares they'll get to the bottom of it once the investigation is complete in a dungeon. The golden boy's eyes are as hard as steel. He's fully prepared to arrest his own flesh and blood to protect the honor of the alliance. Inwardly, Lindgren just completely collapses. He can't believe his perfect plan has become his own personal death trap. He looks over at Lean, finally understanding that the so-called trash heir orchestrated his entire downfall. In his head, he's just cursing Lean's name over and over. This wasn't just a simple defeat, it was a total professional level takedown. We get a flashback of Lean asking for free access to the underground secret room during a meal. It's clear he's been planning this for weeks. Lindgren's eyes are bloodshot with rage. He realizes now that he's the one who let the wolf right into the sheepfold. While the two brothers are having their dramatic confrontation, Lean quietly slips away, heading toward the secret mountain base. He has bigger fish to fry. The sound of footsteps echoes in the dark corridor. Tap, tap. Someone is waiting for him. Leon walks with determination, the drama at the banquet already forgotten. He's here for the source of real power. He briefly considers how Lindgren will try to talk his way out of this, but knows it won't be easy with Taken on the case. Suddenly, a figure drops down from the ceiling landing silently. A masked guardian now stands in his path. The guardian demands to know his purpose for being here. Leon just stares back, his hand slowly moving toward the hilt of his sword. The guardian curses under his breath, recognizing Leiddon as the intruder they were warned about. He reaches for a nearby wall lamp and presses a hidden switch. Clack. With the sound of grinding gears, the floor begins to shift. Is it a hidden passage or a trap? Either way, Leiddon stands his ground unfazed as the room transforms around him. The guardian now looks like a demon guarding the very gates of hell. A crushing pressure instantly fills the room. Osh. The energy is so dense it makes the air vibrate. Boom! An explosion of chi shatters the silence. It's clear, the guardian isn't holding anything back. Leiddon's eyes narrow easily, piercing through the smoke. He's seen flashy moves like this 1,000 times before. When the smoke clears, Leiddon is standing there, completely unharmed, surrounded by shattered blades and rubble. He hasn't even broken a sweat. Leiddon draws his own sword, and it begins to hum with a low, terrifying frequency. Ver. The guardian's jaw drops in shock. He realizes Leiddon isn't just some merchant, he's a true master swordsman. Leiddon gives his blade a spin, creating a whirlwind of razor-sharp energy. Their swords clash in a shower of sparks, trading blows at a speed the naked eye can barely follow. The guardian grunts, his arms trembling from the sheer force of Leiddon's strike. Leiddon's blade flows like water, effortlessly moving around the guardian's defenses. The guardian's eyes widen in terror. He can't keep up with this pace. Leiddon leaps into the air, descending on him like a falling meteor. His eyes are glowing with that signature purple aura. Bam! The very floor cracks under the force of the impact. The guardian is barely hanging on. Leiddon's face is a mask of pure, cold focus. To him, this isn't a fight, it's just a cleanup job. Another precise strike. Cha. He's dismantling the guardian piece by painful piece. The guardian tries one last desperate move, but Leiddon parries it as if it were nothing. The man finally realizes he's not just fighting a sword expert, he's fighting a monster. He gasps, his breath catching in his throat. He lets out a final war cry, pouring every last bit of his strength into one final lunge. Leiddon just stares back, completely unimpressed. The aura radiating from Leiddon is suffocating. Schlink. In a single fluid blur of movement, Leiddon passes right through him. For a brief moment, everything goes still. The wind stops and the dust settles. Splurt. A spray of blood erupts as the guardian's mask shatters into pieces. A single lethal strike ends it instantly. The guardian falls to the floor with a heavy thud. Hump! Another obstacle cleared. Leiddon sheathes his sword without a single glance back at the body. The real prize, after all, is just behind the next door. Outside, the mountains are serene and peaceful, but inside this laboratory, a storm is brewing. Leiddon takes a deep breath. He can already feel the energy of the person locked in the next room, an energy that feels strangely familiar. He walks right past the fallen guardian. No mercy, no hesitation. He sets his gaze on the door to the inner sanctum. This is it, the place where all the world's problems are being manufactured. Inside, Lin Yang King is poring over her research notes, completely unaware that Leiddon is standing right outside. Suddenly, a noise makes her freeze. Her sharp instincts scream that someone powerful has just entered her domain. She whips around, her eyes widening in pure, unadulterated shock. What are you doing here?" she gasps. Leiddon just calmly informs her that he decided to skip out on the assassination mission. She's completely baffled. If he didn't go on the mission, that means he's now officially a traitor to the organization. The implications hit her all at once. If Leiddon is here, it can only mean the guardian posted outside is dead. "You were deceiving him from the very beginning," she realizes aloud. She can't believe the depth of his deception. Leiddon simply nods. "That's right." He confirms, his voice devoid of emotion. He even brings up the medicine she gave him, telling her not to worry because it wouldn't have had any effect on him anyway. A blush creeps onto her face as she stammers that she wasn't worried at all. She's trying so hard to maintain her cold scientist persona, but it's clearly crumbling. Her eyes drift to his hand resting on the hilt of his sword. The gravity of the situation hits her like a ton of bricks. "Are you going to kill me?" she asks, her voice barely a whisper. Leiddon stares her down. "That depends entirely on your answer," he replies, offering her a single chance to survive. She asks what he means by that, her heart hammering against her ribs. He then offers her a deal. He tells her to reveal the identity of the mastermind, and in return he'll let her live. She bites her lip, her gaze falling to the floor. I can't do that, even if it means you'll kill me. Leiddon can tell she's being truthful. She's either incredibly loyal or absolutely terrified of the person pulling the strings. Realizing this, he decides to change his tactics. He threatens to burn every single book and document in the room, effectively destroying her entire life's work. Chotayao. She screams, lunging forward as if to shield her research with her own body. Leiddon asks why she cares so much, especially since he knows how much she despises this unethical research. She falls silent, her eyes reflecting the deep pain of all the terrible things she's been forced to do. A quick flashback shows her drinking alone, trying to drown her guilt in wine. It's clear she's a victim of this system too. Leiddon lets out a quiet sigh. Normally, I would have to kill you as well, he admits. But since you tried to help me with that pill, I'm giving you a way out. He tells her she can either stay here or run far, far away. Do as you please, he says, turning his back on her. He's done negotiating. She stands there completely stunned. In all her time with this organization, no one has ever shown her this kind of mercy. She can only watch as he walks toward the back room. She knows exactly what or who is behind that door. They pass by each other in a heavy silence. They were two people who might have been allies in another life. Leiddon's expression hardens. He's finally about to reach the heart of this mystery. He unleashes a powerful wave of energy, completely wrecking the lab. He's decided to wipe the slate clean, no more monsters, and no more twisted experiments. Suddenly, a high-pitched whine rings out as a secret door slides open. He feels it, an absolutely crushing aura. Someone is calling to him from the shadows. Smoke pours out from the darkened room like it's a living thing. Leiddon steps right inside, his eyes glowing. He's ready for whatever monster they have hidden away. Someone inside is calling me, he thinks. The connection is just undeniable. Yanking whispers from behind him, if you go in, you'll die. She sounds genuinely terrified. Leon just smirks. He's died before, after all. It didn't stick. He enters the room and the door slams shut with a loud bam. Yanking closes her eyes, praying for a man she's only just met. Leon's eyes widen. In the center of the room, he spots a figure sitting in total darkness, an old man with long, wild white hair and eyes that burn with a ghostly light. Leiddon realizes the intense aura he felt before was no exaggeration at all. This guy's a monster. He recognizes the energy signature. It's a technique he hasn't seen in 60 years. That old man is an even greater master than I expected. He thinks to himself that he's actually worried about winning this. The old man speaks, his voice like grinding stones. Who are you? Leon gives his current name, but the old man doesn't seem to care about names. Sit, the old man commands. He tells Leon that he's practically been living here, waiting for someone just like him to appear. Leon sits, matching the old man's perfect poise. He's not about to show any weakness now. The old man asks if he plans to destroy this place. Leon says yes without a second of hesitation. I can't allow that. The old man says, I promised someone I'd protect this place and the child inside. Leon realizes this guy isn't just some guard. He's the organization's ultimate insurance policy. He asks who the old man made that promise to, but the only answer is a cold silence. Leiddon can see the old man's hands. They're scarred and calloused from a lifetime of swordplay. I can't tell you. The old man repeats, his eyes fixed on Leiddon's sword. Leiddon realizes the old man knows exactly what's happening in this lab, and he's disgusted by it too. The silence between them is absolutely deafening. They both know a fight is inevitable. Leiddon asks what the organization's true purpose is. To take over the martial world, the old man replies. He asks if the old man is okay with that. The old man just bursts out laughing. The sound is hollow and haunting. That will never happen, he says. He's so sure of himself, it sounds like a fundamental law of the universe. As long as Tian Hunen exists, no one can take over the martial world, he declares. Leon's heart skips a beat. He's hearing his own past name from a man he hasn't seen in decades. The old man calls Tian Hunen the one true greatest martial artist. He believes the god of war is still out there somewhere. Leon looks at him, realizing this old man is a relic from his own era. He asks if the old man has met Tian Hunen before. The old man's eyes flash. Of course, he says. He's the only one to have ever defeated me in my entire life. He admits, his voice full of respect and regret. He describes Hunen as a calamity sent by the heavens just to break him. Leiddon is completely stunned. He's looking at a man whose life he personally ruined 60 years ago. The realization hits him like a lightning bolt. The Sword Emperor. The old man recounts the year he was defeated back when he was 29 and thought he was the world's greatest. He had defeated the Tao Emperor and the Fist King, but Tian Hunen was a wall he could never climb. He looks at his broken sword on the floor. He never saw Hajin again after that day. He never thought he'd meet someone who reminded him so much of Tian Hajin, especially in a place like this. Leiddon tells him again that the organization will take over, but the old man isn't listening. He insists they can't, because they don't know the kind of monster Tian Hajin is. Leiddon can't take it anymore. He looks the legend right in the eye and drops a bombshell. Tian Hajin is dead. The old man's eyes bulge. The air in the room suddenly becomes heavy enough to crush bone. Nonsense, he screams. He refuses to believe his ultimate rival died a year ago. Leiddon doesn't flinch. Look at me. Do I look like I'm lying? The old man is speechless. His entire world, his whole reason for living and training has just shattered. He lets out a roar of pure agony. No one can kill Tian Hajin. Only I can kill him. Leiddon ignores the outburst. He asks what the old man received in return for helping these criminals. The Sword Emperor is shaking. He looks like a man who just found out the sun has gone out. Leiddon points out that the Sword Emperor he knew would never move for mere money or payment. He realizes the truth. The organization promised him something that would allow him to finally defeat Tian Hajin. The old man just stares at him, his eyes completely empty. The legend is broken. And our boy Leiddon is the one who did it. Leon just stares at him with zero sympathy, like a judge delivering a final sentence to a man who's lived far too long. He tells the old man straight up, at your age, he should have known better than to fall for the temptations of a shady group. The old man's head droops, his voice trembling as he utters the one question consuming his very soul. Who killed him? Leon doesn't pull any punches. He looks the old man dead in the eye and says, you did. Leiddon's expression is as cold as stone. He's about to spell out exactly how this living legend sold his honor down the river. The Sword Emperor's eyes nearly pop out of his head. He can't believe the sheer audacity of the young man standing before him. He bellows that it's nonsense, his voice cracking with fury as he scrambles to defend his pathetic choices. Leon calmly lays out the logic. This organization is almost certainly the one that engineered Hajin's downfall with their scheming. And since the Sword Emperor is on their payroll, that makes him an accomplice in the death of the one man he ever truly respected, the old man is completely staggered. It's as if Leiddon just landed a mental finishing move. Leiddon shuts his eyes for a moment, almost feeling a pang of pity for how far a grandmaster can fall once desperation sets in. He mockingly suggests that maybe this is what the old man wanted all along. His rival gone so he could finally be number one by default. Shut up. The Sword Emperor explodes. His ki erupts like a volcano as he finally snaps, and the pressure in the room becomes absolutely suffocating. Leiddon's robes whip around wildly as the old master prepares to go all out. But Leiddon remains grounded, his hand hovering just over the hilt of his blade. He knew it would come to this. He's through listening to the excuses of a man who has long outlived his own honor. Leon calls him out, pointing out that for a master of his caliber, he's still trapped in a childish delusion of victory and defeat. He tells him that growing old isn't a sin. Everyone must eventually face the passage of time. But aging disgracefully, throwing away your very soul just to chase a ghost, that is a sin that can't be forgiven. With that, the Sword Emperor lunges. A blinding flash of white light fills the room as he makes his move. Leiddon grits his teeth, drawing his blade in a heartbeat. The real fight begins now. Boom! The entire room shakes as their energies collide, unleashing a massive shockwave that tears straight through the floor. The old man snarls, calling him an arrogant brat, as he swings his sword with the weight of 60 years of frustration behind it. He screams that he's going to kill Leon right here and now. He's completely lost himself to bloodlust. Leon parries the strike and metal screams as their blades grind together. He can feel the pressure. This old man may be corrupted, but he's still a god-tier swordsman. Leon shifts his grip, his fingers moving with a precision that only a true martial god could possess. For just a microsecond, the Sword Emperor pauses, sensing something oddly familiar in Leon's stance. They exchange a dizzying flurry of blows. Clang, clang, clang. It's a dance of death, where a single wrong step means an instant end. Leiddon realizes the situation is quickly getting out of hand. The old master is far stronger than he initially calculated. Leon recalls that 40 years ago, this man was a legend for a reason. He wasn't always this pathetic. He pushes back his face tight with effort as the Sword Emperor presses his advantage. The old man's sword chi carves deep gashes into the solid stone walls. He's literally tearing the building apart around them. He thrusts forward, his eyes glowing with an eerie, ghostly light. He's moving faster than any man his age has a right to. Leon barely manages to block the attack, the force of the impact sending sparks flying right in his face. The Sword Emperor unleashes a massive wave of energy. Whoosh. The entire lab is being splintered into toothpicks. Their blades lock once more. You can almost feel the static electricity crackling in the air between them as they stand face to face. Leiddon can see the raw desperation in the old man's eyes. He's fighting for his last remaining shred of dignity. Leiddon has to admit to himself that the Emperor's inner strength is actually greater than his own at this moment. He realizes the old man isn't all talk. He's the real deal. A true, peak-level master. Leon is forced back, his feet skidding across the debris-covered floor. They reset their stances, standing on opposite sides of the ruined chamber. The air is thick with killing intent. Leon exhales a small puff of white mist. It's time to stop playing around and bring out the heavy hitters. His blade begins to glow with a haunting ethereal blue light. He's tapping into the deep reserves of his past life's chi. The Sword Emperor looks baffled. He's never encountered an energy signature quite like this before. Leon simply tells him to do his best. This is the last bit of respect he intends to show the fallen master. He vanishes in a blur of motion, leaving nothing but a trail of white smoke in his wake. Chuhan Shura sword technique. Leon materializes behind the Emperor, his blade moving in a pattern that seems to defy all logic. The impact is so thunderous, it likely echoed across the entire mountain range. The Sword Emperor is stunned, his eyes wide with a dawning, horrified realization. He recognizes that technique. It's a forbidden art that only one man in all of history ever truly mastered. Leiddon stands tall, looking like the literal god of war returned to Earth to reclaim his throne. They clash once more, but this time it's Leiddon who's dictating the pace of the fight. Clang, the old man is on the defensive now. He's being systematically dismantled by a kid using his own rival's signature moves. Leiddon launches himself into the air, his sword slicing down like a guillotine. The Emperor just barely dodges, rolling away, as Leiddon's strike completely pulverizes the spot where he was standing. Dust and debris explode outwards. Yeah, the lab is pretty much a total goner at this point. Boom. Another blast of energy erupts. Leiddon is absolutely relentless, not giving the old Emperor a single moment to catch his breath. Meanwhile, Lin King is watching from the doorway, her hair whipping in the wind from the shockwaves. She's witnessing a clash of titans, her eyes wide with a mix of pure terror and utter amazement. It dawns on her that Leiddon is something far more than just a human warrior. She can hardly believe what she's seeing. Some random merchant is somehow pushing the legendary Sword Emperor to his absolute limit. Even Leiddon is starting to breathe heavily now. Even for someone like him, keeping up this insane power level in a much younger body is taking a serious toll. The Sword Emperor gets back on his feet, his white hair a mess, and his eyes blazing with a final desperate fire. Leiddon's stare is rock steady. He knows this next clash will decide everything. He channels all his chi into the very tip of his sword, concentrating the light into a razor-sharp piercing needle of pure energy. The old Emperor mirrors his move. This is it, the ultimate showdown of their sword hearts. Outside, a storm starts to rage, as if the heavens themselves are responding to the incredible power being unleashed. Kaboom! A huge pillar of light shoots up from the lab's center, blasting right through the roof. Where the inner sanctum once stood, there's now just a giant crater. The power levels in this fight are completely off the charts. The Sword Emperor is sent, flying backward, coughing up blood. He's clearly reaching his limit. He catches a glimpse of Leiddon out of the corner of his eye, and his mind finally starts connecting the dots. Meanwhile, Leiddon is already closing in for the finish. He has no intention of letting this drag on any longer. We get a close-up of his blade, sharp, cold, and ready to end this. Another massive explosion rocks the area. The entire mountain seems to groan under the sheer force of the impact. The old Emperor skids backward, and his sword carving a deep trench in the stone floor as he struggles to stay on his feet. Leiddon executes his move, a perfect mirror of a technique Hajin himself used decades ago. The lab's walls finally give out, collapsing into a massive pile of burning timber and shattered stone. A thick cloud of dust settles over the battlefield. For a single tense heartbeat, everything goes completely silent. The Sword Emperor is left standing in the middle of the rubble, his robes tattered, and his body covered in wounds. He's staring at Leiddon, but he no longer sees a young man. He sees a ghost from the past. Xian Hajin, he whispers finally, recognizing the soul looking back at him. Leiddon's eyes are glowing with a terrifying light. He doesn't deny it, just stands there with an air of absolute authority. He takes a step forward, a whirlwind of powerful energy swirling around him. He's about to close the book on this rivalry once and for all. Clang! Their blades clash one final time, but it's no contest. Leiddon's will is simply unbreakable. They both leap into the air, their figures silhouetted against the stormy night sky. It's a beautiful yet tragic scene. Leiddon calls him a foolish and pitiful old man. It doesn't sound mean, more like he's just stating a fact. But then he adds a surprising twist. He clarifies that the Emperor's swordsmanship, however, was neither foolish nor pitiful. The old man's eyes soften at this. It's the one piece of validation he's been seeking all this time. Leiddon swings his sword. The motion is so incredibly fast, it just looks like a single streak of purple light. Boom. The final shockwave blows away all the smoke and dust. The old emperor knows he's lost, but in his defeat, he's finally found the worthy opponent he's been searching for his whole life. He admits that he's forgotten everything, his techniques, his long-held grudges, even his own name. He's reached a state of pure selflessness where nothing exists but the sword and the present moment. His hand moves one last time, executing a perfect strike completely free of malice. Leiddon's face is streaked with sweat and blood. He looks utterly exhausted. The tip of his blade finally comes to a rest. It's over. Leiddon is standing behind the Emperor, now his sword stained red. The silence that follows is heavy, marking the death of a legend. The Sword Emperor remains standing for a moment, his own sword slipping from his grasp. For the first time in years, his face is completely at peace. Splat. A spray of blood marks the moment the fatal wound takes its toll. The old man coughs, whispering something with his final breath. "You're his disciple." Leiddon simply watches him pass, choosing not to correct his last words. Some secrets, after all, are best taken to the grave. The Sword Emperor's knees finally buckle. His consciousness fades as he falls forward onto the ground. And so, the legendary master meets his end. Leiddon stands over the body, his silhouette appearing long and lonely in the moonlight. He makes a final promise to the fallen emperor. In the next life, let's meet and fight again, but in a better place and for a better cause. The lab is now nothing more than a smoking ruin. Leiddon has single-handedly burned the entire organization's progress to the ground. Lin Yanking is still there, staring at the widespread destruction. Her entire world has just been flipped upside down. When she hears footsteps approaching, she jumps in fright. Her heart leaps into her throat. Leiddon emerges from the smoke, looking like he just took a stroll through hell and back. He's clearly battered and bruised, but he's the only one left standing. He walks right past her without a single word. His business here is done. She calls out to him, still in shock that he actually managed to defeat the Sword Emperor. To her, a feat like that seemed completely impossible. Leiddon pauses. "My battle ends here," he says, explaining that he's done with all the killing for one day. He glances back at her and asks if she's finally made up her mind. He's giving her one last chance to choose her own way. She's completely speechless, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and dawning realization. Suddenly, Leon taps 2 points on her chest with lightning speed. Tap, tap. She stumbles back, her energy fluctuating wildly. He just unsealed her restricted meridians. She realizes her body can move freely again. He's actually giving her freedom back. "Go," he says. A single simple word that carries the weight of a new life. Her voice trembling, she asks him again, "Are you truly sparing my life?" She looks at him, searching for any hint of a lie, but all she sees is a man who's tired of the bloodshed. She asks why, but Leon just gives her a faint, knowing smile. She stands there completely floored by his mercy. She's been a tool for so long, she's forgotten what it's like to be a person. She closes her eyes as a single tear rolls down her cheek. The weight of her past is finally beginning to lift. She bows deeply, thanking him for this second chance. She's officially out of the organization's game. Leon watches her walk away into the night, one less soul lost to the darkness. He stands alone in the ruins for a moment, the fire crackling behind him. His expression hardens once more. The merciful moment is over. Now he has to cover his tracks. He looks over at the vats and documents. He needs to erase every trace of this place, so the organization can't restart their research. He focuses his ki, preparing to level what's left of the mountain base. Boom. The whole place goes up in a massive fireball. The secrets of the lab are gone forever. The scene cuts to a different location. A man with sharp features and a cold gaze watches the smoke from a distance. His group is completely baffled. They ask, "What on earth happened here? Why, Manhwa?" No one expected the lab to be wiped out so completely. The leader decides to cancel their current mission and return to report this disaster. The power balance has just been completely upended. We see a young boy and a scarred warrior watching from the bushes. They move quickly. Back in the city, the dust has settled from the golden banquet. It's a new day, but the atmosphere is still tense. A voice asks, "Were you always this heartless?" And with that, we're back with the main cast. Leon's younger disciple Guangtou looks shocked. He's talking to our MC about the recent events. Master Kong is there too, calmly sipping his tea. Leon tells Guangtou he worries too much, but Guangtou insists it's not worry, it's genuine concern. Guangtou is the heart of the group, and he's genuinely concerned for Leon's safety. Leon just smirks and asks what Guangtou would do if he had a child of his own to raise one day. He asks if Guangtou would really send his own child out into this brutal world without being heartless enough to prepare them for it. Guangtou falls silent, realizing that Leon's so-called heartlessness is actually a form of protection. Leon sighs, saying that imagining Guangtou as a nagging old man is already unbearable. The friendly banter is back, and it feels good. Leon pivots back to business, asking Chief Gong about the progress of the task he was entrusted with. Chief Gong reports that they've successfully set up branches in Khufu and Wuhan, and even a small one right here in Zhenghe. Leon looks pleased. The Star Trading Company is expanding faster than anyone could have predicted. He tells Chief Gong that from this point forward, he'll be placing his full trust in him. He's building his empire one loyal person at a time. Chief Gong bows his face full of gratitude. He knows he's part of something historic. Gong also mentions that Bayakpio is carrying out his own mission well. Leon's heavy hitters are all in position. With that confirmed, Leon's expression turns serious. He warns them that things will only get tougher from here on out. He gazes out the window, his eyes fixed on the distant horizon. The Murim Alliance isn't going to let this go. He predicts that their enemies will suffer even more, not just because of him, but because of all of them. He's building a collective power. Hearing this, Master Kong and Guangtou smile. They're ready for whatever comes next. For a moment, Leon looks truly content. He's finally found a group of people worth fighting for. He emphasizes that it's because of us. He's not a solo player anymore. He's a leader. The camera pans out, showing the three of them sitting together, a small island of loyalty in a sea of corruption. The scene then shifts to a dark dungeon. The atmosphere is cold and damp. Ma Lingren is in chains, his red hair a mess, and his spirit seemingly broken. He's being interrogated. His brother Maun stands over him, demanding to know who ordered the assassination attempt. Maun tells him he doesn't realize the severity of the situation. Assassinating a high-ranking member of the Alliance is treason. Maun's face is a mask of disappointment. He truly wanted to believe his brother was better than this. Lingren just scoffs. He calls Tia a mere acting head and claims the only proof is a single letter. He's still trying to play games. He thinks that without the unnamed warrior's testimony, they can't convict him. Maun goes silent, his eyes narrowing. He's done trying to reason with a snake. He tells Lingren that he's been this way since childhood. Always scheming, always calculating. Maun admits he's despised him for a long time. Lingren just smirks. He knows his brother is far too honorable to murder him in a prison cell. Tuin looks him dead in the eye and says it plainly, "I could kill you right here and no one would lift a finger to stop me." Lingren just goads him, "Then try it." He's making a big gamble on Tuin's moral compass. A cold, terrifying rage flashes across Tuin's face. He's a single breath away from completely snapping. Lingren just laughs, a wicked, sharp smile playing on his lips. He's certain he has won this round of mind games. Just then, an old advisor steps into the dungeon. "Clan leader, I must have a word with you." Takan turns his back on his brother, the immense weight of his leadership evident in his posture. Lingren watches him walk away, his eyes smoldering with spite. He might be down, but he is definitely not out of the fight. The advisor informs Takan that an urgent message has arrived from the Murim Alliance. The order couldn't be more direct. They are demanding Ma Lingren be brought to the Alliance headquarters effective immediately. The old advisor looks deeply troubled. This sort of direct command from the very top is exceptionally rare. Takan is in shock. He can't believe the news reached the capital that quickly. He wonders how his own father, the Alliance leader, could have possibly found out that Lingren was imprisoned. The advisor, sweating bullets, asks if this is truly a direct order from the Alliance leader himself. Takan's face goes pale. He realizes exactly what this means. The puppeteer behind the curtain has finally made their move. The true powers of the world are at last stepping into the light. We cut to Shandong at the Bai clan estate. Leiddon is walking through the gates, his head lowered in thought. He's right back where this entire journey began. He muses on how strange it is to finally feel a sense of peace. In his past life, he never really understood the concept of home. Leaving always felt like liberation, but now he finally grasps the precious value of having a place to return to. He sees his parents waiting for him. They look a little older, but their smiles are as genuine and warm as ever. Leiddon offers a small, real smile, letting his usual CEO mask fall away for a moment. He reflects on the profound meaning of coming back. He's not just a reincarnator anymore. He's a son. His mother asks him if he had a safe trip back. Leiddon bows, thanking them for their concern. She then asks about the business matter he had to attend to. She has no clue he just dismantled a secret organization and took down a legendary figure. Leiddon simply says he handled everything properly. To him, saving the world is just another day at the office. His father tells him that a person's principles are what truly define their life. He's so proud of the man Leiddon has become. The patriarch smiles, his eyes filled with pride, thinking his son is simply a very successful merchant. He tells Leiddon that a collection of good principles is the foundation for a good life. He encourages Leiddon to build many more as he continues his journey. Leiddon nods. I'll bear that in mind. He's genuinely touched by his father's simple, honest wisdom. His father tells him to go get some rest, but Leiddon says he's perfectly fine. He wants to check on his little sword unit first. When he walks onto the training field, he's greeted by a roaring wave of cheers. Leiddon is taken aback. He wasn't expecting this kind of warm reception at all. He thinks to himself that his chest feels unusually tight. It's an emotion he never felt, not even once in his previous life. Not even when leading thousands of history's greatest warriors did he experience this kind of genuine warmth. He looks at them all and asks a simple question with a bright, open smile. Have you all been well? He's finally home. The unit roars in unison, their voices shaking the entire estate to its foundations. Gong and Guangtou watch from the side, smiling. They know they found someone truly rare. His parents look on from the balcony, their hearts full to bursting. The heir everyone wrote off as a loser is now a true leader of men. Leiddon looks up at the sky, his eyes brimming with determination. He has a home to protect now, and he would burn the whole Murim alliance to the ground before he'd let anyone take it from him. Leiddon drops his proposal on the table. He wants to establish a secret sword unit using Sun Huen's name as a cover. Huen studies him, trying to decide if he's joking or just that ridiculously ambitious. He clarifies that he will personally handle all the recruiting and the difficult work. He just needs her brand recognition to make it appear legitimate to the outside world. She calls him on it immediately. He's basically just borrowing her stellar reputation to hide his own secret moves. Leiddon doesn't even blink. He just smirks and says, pretty much. The scene shifts to a tranquil pavilion over a lake. Huen asks the million-dollar question, why go through all this trouble to hide it? Usually sects shout their numbers from the rooftops to seem intimidating. Leiddon's low-key approach is the exact opposite of how the Murim world works. Leiddon's logic is simple. He intends to grow his power in the shadows, where no one can measure its true strength until it's already too late. By using the Song family name, the Alliance will think they're just supporting a small ally which will allow Leiddon to expand his funds and his forces without a single raised eyebrow. Leiddon worries for a split second that she might feel used. I mean, he is using her and he knows it. But Huen doesn't hesitate for a second. She gives him the green light immediately. Leiddon is actually caught off guard by this. He expected to have to negotiate, but she's basically handing him a blank check. She laughs at his shocked face, asking why he seems so surprised that she actually trusts him now. Leiddon asks if she's sure it's really that simple of a decision. She just looks at him like he's the one being slow for once. She points out that the only thing that matters is whether she trusts the man standing in front of her. Leon realizes that Sun Hua has finally seen the real him, or at least the parts of him that actually care. She gives him a genuine smile, confirming that her trust is 100% locked in. Leon just gives a soft thanks. It's a rare moment where he isn't a shark. He's just a guy grateful for an ally. But then she breaks the tension, demanding he buy her a drink as payment. Classic Huen. The silence follows, the kind of comfortable quiet you only get with someone who's seen you at your worst. Leon looks a bit nervous about her drinking habits, but she promises she won't cause any trouble this time. The sun begins to set over the lake. The deal's done. The small sword unit is officially a go. Later that night, the setting changes to a more serious meeting room. The air is heavy again. Hu pours more tea, asking the real question. Why does he want to expand his power this much? What's the endgame? Leon's face turns cold. He says it's not time to talk about the monsters behind the Murim Alliance leader just yet. He tells her that the current state of the martial world is a ticking time bomb. Chaos is coming, and he's the only one building a bunker. He predicts a world where the strong treat the weak like literal slaves. He's seen it before in his past life, and he knows the cycle is resetting. He mentions Maungi, the Alliance leader. The man has lived his life by stepping on others, and the people using him are even worse. Huen looks genuinely worried now. She asks what she should do to survive this coming storm. Leon just smiles and reminds her she's already with him. They're building the unit together. She stares at him, realizing that for Leiddon, this isn't just about business. It's about survival for everyone he's brought into his circle. She smiles to herself, feeling a weight lift. She's finally on the right side of history. They toast to their new alliance, the merchant and the swordflower, a dangerous combo. We shift to the Bayat clan's sword sect. The recruitment has officially begun. Warriors are lining up at the gate, all hoping for a spot in this mysterious new unit. The rumors of a collaboration with the Song family have drawn people from every corner of the Central Plains. Our guy Guan Wei and his team are looking out at the crowd, absolutely floored by how many people showed up. One of the veterans tells the younger guys not to be nervous. He's trying to play it cool, but everyone feels the pressure. Leon steps out looking like the ultimate boss. He tells them the applicants are way more nervous than they are. He tells them to remember their own first day and use that to judge who's got the right spirit. Let's see how many capable ones showed up. Lean gives the command and the crowd roars back. We cut to a massive dark hall. The scale of this place screams final boss territory. A scarred assassin and a tall woman stand in the shadows. These aren't the good guys. They're reporting to a figure behind a screen. The tension is high enough to make your skin crawl. The mysterious figure confirms it. The Sword Emperor was actually killed by the nameless hero. The scarred guy Chilho confirms the report. His face is a mask of professional dread. Chilho looks up, waiting for the command. He knows his life depends on the next few seconds. The voice behind the curtain asks why they didn't pursue him. The disappointment in the voice is lethal. Chilho explains that while his killers are top tier, the risk of being detected by the nameless hero was just too high. He's calling Leon a monster. Is that the only reason? The voice is testing him. Chilho just swallows and says yes. The figure muses that the Sword Emperor couldn't have lost purely on skill. He's looking for a cheat code. They wonder if poison was involved. The body was burned so badly they couldn't confirm, but the scene showed it was a total bloodbath. The figure concludes that while the nameless hero is skilled, he couldn't have won a fair fight. They're underestimating our guy again. But they know one thing for sure. The hero is coming for them. They don't have to look. He'll show up at their doorstep. Back to Lean. He's overseeing the recruitment tests, looking completely unbothered by the shadow organization hunting him. The test is simple. Basic techniques and an interview. Leon doesn't need to see them spar. He can see their level just by how they breathe. Out of 500 applicants, only 80 make the cut. Hunen steps out to greet the lucky few, looking every bit the noble commander. Her presence is the seal of legitimacy. The warriors see her and realize this isn't just some small-time mercenary gig, but behind the scenes, Guan Hai is struggling. He tells Leon straight up, "I'm not confident." He feels too young to lead 100 men. He's been a squad leader, but this is a whole different level of responsibility. Leon tells him it's natural to be nervous. Stepping up from 20 men to 100 is a massive jump for anyone. "You're not a child, just young," Leiddon tells him, giving the ultimate older brother pep talk. Guan Hai looks down his heart, still heavy with doubt, so Leiddon poses a thoughtful question. "Do you think you'll gain more confidence as you get older?" Guan Hui just nods, assuming that experience is the cure for fear, but Leiddon is about to hit him with a reality check. Not at all. Leiddon says a look in his eyes that suggests he's lived 10 lifetimes. He explains to Guan Hui that the older you get, the less confidence you actually have. Old men simply rely on experience to fake it. Confidence is just another word for proficiency once you've done something 1,000 times. Guan Hui's eyes widen. He's never heard anyone speak about leadership this way. Leiddon tells him to embrace his youth, explaining that now is the only time he can show genuine confidence before the world makes him cynical. Guan Hui finally understands. He bows deeply, his spirit ignited with newfound purpose. But Leiddon has a hidden reason for this talk. He knows the pressure on the young commander is about to intensify. A new recruit named Yang Ti has joined their ranks. He's well known in Shandong and possesses exceptional skills. The man is a true professional with a stellar reputation, and he's naturally drawing attention away from Guan Hui. People are even whispering that Yang Ti should be the commander, and Guan Hui is feeling the sting of his inferiority complex again. Leiddon calls him into a private room. It's time for the final lesson in leadership. He asks Guan Hui directly, "Do you know why I appointed you as the commander?" Guan Hui looks crushed. He whispers that he doesn't know, likely expecting Leiddon to dismiss him, but Leiddon starts listing off reasons. "Is it because you're handsome, have a good personality, because you're young?" To each question, Guan Hui denies it. Leiddon then asks if it's because he works harder than everyone else, cornering Guan Hui with his own self-doubt. Guan Hui just hangs his head. "Honestly, I don't know," he admits. Then Leiddon delivers the most unexpected answer. "It's because I like you." Guan Hui is frozen in place. He never expected a personal connection to be the reason for his promotion. Leiddon admits there are members who are better looking, have better personalities, and possess far greater skills. He adds that eventually people who work harder will join too. "But you're the one I like best." Leiddon's trust is personal. He doesn't want a machine, he wants a loyal brother-in-arms. Guanhui's eyes well up with tears. He's finally found someone who believes in him for who he is, not just for what he can do. The sound of rigorous training echoes across the courtyard, signaling the start of a time skip. We see Guanhui leading the charge, looking sharper and more focused than ever. His small sword unit moves like a single cohesive organism. Their synchronization is terrifyingly perfect. Leiddon watches from a balcony, looking like a proud puppet master whose creation is finally taking shape. He appears as stoic as ever, but inwardly he's calculating the full extent of the force he can now command. There's a colder look in his eyes. The peaceful days are coming to an end. Just then, Master Kong enters with a report. On Leiddon's orders, he's been investigating the Namyan Escort Bureau. The bureau is based in Shajiang, but its growth has been suspiciously rapid. In just 3 years, it transformed from an unknown agency into a mid-sized powerhouse boasting 70 elite escorts. Leiddon sips his tea, pondering how an agency could grow so quickly without some serious backing from an outside source. Kong reports finding a specific source funneling work to them through a complex web of agents. But despite the elaborate cover-ups, all the money and missions trace back to one place. Leiddon's gaze narrows. And where is that? Kong drops the name, the very same man who hosted the Golden Banquet. Shang Wangbo, the head of the Great Continental Merchant Guild. Leiddon's eyes flash with realization. He knew that old man was too wealthy to be completely clean. Shang Wangbo is one of the top 3 richest men in the world, and the head of the powerful merchant union. He has his hands in everyone's pockets. Leiddon wonders if this merchant is the actual mastermind, or simply the one bankrolling the operation. Kong asks if they should confront him now, indicating he's ready to make a move. Leiddon says, his voice carrying a warning, but not right now. He's not ready to tip his hand to a man with that much influence. He instructs Kong to focus on strengthening Samangok, their internal intelligence network. Don't provoke the giant yet, he orders. Kong bows, understanding the need for a slow and steady strategy. Leiddon looks out over his unit, finally grasping the true scope of the enemy. Their power is tangled throughout the martial world like a spider's web. Taking down one piece of the web won't kill the spider. Rushing in now would be a suicide mission. He needs to wait for the right moment to rip the whole web down at once. The scene shifts to the Murim Alliance's Leader Hall, a room whose grand scale is designed to intimidate all who enter. Simayon is there, standing before the leader's empty throne. He has never been allowed in this room before. He wonders why a man of the Alliance leader's stature would summon him to the inner sanctum now of all times. The Alliance leader, Ma Bongi, looks down on him with eyes that could freeze a river. He calls out to Simayon, mentioning the seat that Qian Hajin once established. He declares that betraying the will of the martial god is an unforgivable offense. He's using our hero's own past reputation to play his men like a fiddle. Just then, the traitor Ma Ryong is dragged in chains, clanking against the floor. Maon, the family's golden boy, is the one escorting him. You can see the disgust on his face, just from having to be near his own brother. Rayong is bound in heavy shackles, looking for all the world like a kicked puppy. The Alliance leader chimes in, calling the entire affair a disgrace. He declares that trying to kill your own flesh and blood is an act no human should ever commit. He's clearly trying to take the moral high ground. Rayong immediately starts screaming that it's a setup and he's been framed. He's still trying to lie his way out of this mess. The leader tells him to explain himself in detail. He's basically giving him a stage to spin his web of lies. Rayong claims his older brother conspired with the nameless hero to have him removed. Tycoon is stunned by the sheer audacity of it all. He even alleges that Tycoon told him to his face that he's hated him since they were kids. He's playing the victim card to perfection. Tycoon is rendered speechless, realizing his own brother has absolutely no shame. Rayong looks up, his eyes brimming with crocodile tears. This guy's a true S-rank actor. The Alliance leader then asks Tycoon if he has any proof that Rayong tried to kill him. Tycoon says he does, his voice filled with righteous fury. He presents the secret letter that Leiddon sent him. The leader glances at it with a look of utter boredom and asks, "Is this all the proof you have?" The question is obviously a trap. The leader dismisses it as insufficient evidence. It's clear he's already decided to protect his favored son. Tycoon argues that Rayong's actions followed the letter's predictions to a T. How could the hero have known if it wasn't a real plot? The leader just smirks. He suggests the letter could have been fabricated after the event just to frame his son. Tycoon is left completely speechless. What he can't believe, his own father is gaslighting him right to his face. The silence that fills the hall is suffocating. Tycoon realizes the whole game is rigged against him. "Are you accusing me of forging it?" His voice trembles with barely contained rage. The leader simply says he's just mentioning a possibility. He's a true master of plausible deniability. Tycoon finally snaps, screaming, "Alliance leader!" Losing his composure for the first time, he glares at his father, who just stares back, his gaze as cold and unmoving as stone. He's a mountain, and Tycoon is just a whisper of wind against it. The leader smoothly shifts the focus, asking who this nameless hero actually is. A man named Simeon steps forward to explain that this hero is the same person who killed Yomwa and is currently under investigation. Apparently, General Gal Sarang is in charge of that case. The web of intrigue just keeps expanding. The leader realizes this hero is a complete wild card. Simeon admits they only brought him here to use as a scapegoat if things went south. They've tried to uncover his identity, but have come up completely empty. That's because our boy Leiddon is a total ghost. All they have on him is his approximate age and that he's a master of fisticuffs. They have absolutely no idea they're hunting the martial god himself. To them, his true identity remains a complete mystery. The Alliance leader's face becomes a mask of pure frustration. He glances at the letter again before crumpling it in his fist, muttering, "A secret letter from someone we don't even know." To the leader, it's nothing more than a piece of trash. From the shadows, Rayong cracks a smirk. He's won. He's gotten away with it all. The final command is given, "Release your younger brother." Tycoon is shattered. "I obey," he says, hanging his head in defeat. The honorable son just took the biggest L of his life. The strategist Simeon watches him go, his eyes filled with what could be pity, or perhaps greed. The Alliance leader thinks to himself, if it's at all possible, we need to recruit this nameless hero to our side. Little does he know the only thing Leiddon is coming for is his head. Time passes like a flowing river, and the seasons begin to change. Leiddon has been grinding hard. He's been focusing on his inner arts training in both the Chuhan Shura sword and the Seon secret arts at the same time. He's also completely mastered his family's White Moon sword technique, reaching a level of skill the Bei clan never even dreamed was possible. But he wasn't the only one getting stronger. His entire unit has been pouring their blood, sweat, and tears into training every single day. The small sword unit took on its first real mission, and their leader Guanwu absolutely crushed it. Their second and third missions were total cakewalks after that. The unit is quickly building a reputation for being flawless, but their fourth mission got bloody with 2 men getting seriously injured. And on the 5th mission, they suffered their first fatality. Leiddon knew it was inevitable. Leading 100 men into real combat is a whole different world from leading small squads. Meanwhile, Rayong is back in Henan, and Ma Tycoon has officially been named the new head of the Cheondo sect. Rumors are flying that Tycoon is now the true successor to the Alliance. But others whisper it's just a political move to bury the scandal. Anyway, back to Leiddon. We find him sitting peacefully in the snow. His chi is radiating so much heat it's practically melting the air around him. His movements have become fluid, almost supernatural. He's on the verge of reaching the final stage. A massive whirlwind of snow and energy erupts around him as he completes his cultivation. His power level is completely off the charts. He looks less like a man and more like a force of nature. As he stands, the very ground beneath his feet cracks from the sheer pressure of his aura. The training is complete. His old, weaker self is gone. Only the god of war remains. At long last, his inner energy has reached the equivalent of 120 years worth of cultivation. That's 2 full 60-year cycles of God tier chi. He stares right at us with those lethally sharp eyes. Our boy is officially a one-man army once again. The world had better be ready for his return. He thinks to himself, I can now use the 5th form of the Chuhan Shura sword, a whirlwind of pure terror. Imagine a move so powerful that its very existence makes the world feel smaller. The 6th form of the soul-chasing Ashura style is exactly that, the ultimate final technique. But here's the catch. The internal energy required to control it is so astronomical that using it is essentially a suicide mission. Our boy Leiddon knows this better than anyone, facing the hard truth that some blades are only meant to be drawn at the very end. Because of that, the 5th form, the Wheel of Calamity, is his go-to when things need to be completely erased from existence. And right now, Leiddon is letting it rip. His face darkens with intense focus as the air around him begins to shriek. He calls out the technique, 5th form Wheel of Calamity. And just like that, the entire area is swallowed by a literal hurricane of steel. Massive boulders are shredded as if they're made of paper, the ground itself groaning under the pressure of the spinning chi. Leiddon moves through the chaos with terrifying grace. His eyes are locked on the destruction he's causing. With a final violent twist of his body and blade, he directs the surging energy outward. A massive wall of dark pressurized air erupts from his position, carving through everything in its path. The landscape is literally being rewritten as shockwaves tear the earth apart and send debris hurtling into the sky. Explosion after explosion rocks the valley as the technique finishes its devastating work, leaving nothing but dust and craters behind. The wind howls as the residual energy finally begins to dissipate into the atmosphere. The sheer scale of the damage is visible from miles away. A massive scar is carved into the forest and the earth. The clouds are even parted by the force of the strike, leaving the sky clear, but the ground in absolute ruins. Leiddon stands in the center of the wasteland he just created. He slowly sheathes his sword as the dust settles around him, taking a deep breath as the intensity of the moment finally fades from his face. A small, confident smirk plays on his lips. He's ready for what's coming next. Looking at the massive craters left behind, it's clear that Leiddon isn't just a merchant anymore. He's a walking natural disaster. Back in the city, an Alliance official drops a bombshell. The Murim Alliance has officially announced the revival of the Blood Heavenly demonic cult. Leiddon freezes, his mind racing as he processes the name of the group he personally dismantled in his past life. He knows for a fact they can't be back, because he's the one who made sure every last one of them stopped breathing. He realizes this is a massive fake-out by a new faction using a scary name to justify a huge recruitment drive for new warriors. The pieces on the board are moving faster than he expected, and the look on Leiddon's face says he knows the peace is about to end. He wonders if this was the Alliance leader's idea or if an even greater puppet master is pulling the strings from the shadows. He decides it's finally time to bring in Commander Gal, a man whose mind is as sharp as Leiddon's blade. He could send his heavy hitters like Bayakpo to handle it, but Leiddon knows a man like Gal needs a personal touch. He reflects on the bond between a lord and a vassal. It shouldn't be forced. It has to be built on genuine trust and shared goals. In a vision of the past, we see Leiddon reaching out to Gal, a moment that defined their previous connection. The message is clear. It's time for him to go out and gather the people who truly matter. Leiddon stands tall, the weight of his future empire resting on his ability to play this next move perfectly. The scene shifts to the massive, imposing headquarters of the Murim Alliance, the heart of all power in the martial world. Inside, a frustrated official demands to know if Commander Gal has found him, yet referring to the unnamed great hero who's been causing chaos. The voice on the other end is furious, calling the search a total failure. The man yelling is Samachian, and he's not holding back, calling Gal completely incompetent and pathetic. Commander Gal just bows his head and offers a quiet apology. He looks like a man who's used to taking the heat for things he can't control. He hands a document over to Samacheon, his hand steady despite the verbal abuse. Samacheon scans the paper, his eyes narrowing as he looks for any excuse to complain further. Suddenly his expression shifts into a greedy, satisfied grin as he sees something that catches his interest. He notes that someone is stirring up trouble that might actually be worth his time to investigate. The documents are actually a list of corrupt figures in the Murim world that Samacheon has been squeezing for cash and favors. He's pocketed over 100,000 young in just 1 year. Using his position to line his own pockets while everyone else struggles, he tells Gal that since they need to recruit new warriors this spring, Gal will be the one to handle the grunt work. Gal simply accepts the order, his back turned as he prepares to leave the room. Model. As he departs, his face is a perfect mask of duty, but it's clear he's utterly disgusted by the man he serves. With sharp eyes full of unspoken thoughts, he contemplates the state of the Alliance. He wonders where this ridiculous story about a demonic cult revival came from, sensing that something is seriously amiss. Leiddon just lets out a dramatic sigh, looking as if he's explaining the obvious to a small child. The rumor originated from the Alliance leaders' hall, the very top of the food chain. Gal looks completely stunned, realizing this fabrication is coming from the highest possible authority. Somaton explains that bringing up the demonic cult is the quickest way to make the Murim panic and cede more power. Gal then asks the obvious question, isn't the Alliance already powerful enough? Somaton shuts him down instantly, stating that more power is always better, and telling him to stop asking foolish questions. Gal simply bows and takes his leave, knowing better than to argue with a man who sees the world purely in terms of power and numbers. Once alone, Somaton leans back in his chair, looking bored and completely detached from the lives of the people he governs. He muses to himself that even Gal has no idea about the full scope of what's truly happening behind the scenes. He wonders if Gal is genuinely that naive or just a remarkably good actor before his thoughts drift back to the unnamed great hero. He'd even mobilized his secret spy network to locate him, but the man had simply vanished into thin air. In his mind, there are only 3 possibilities. The hero is dead, he's left for good, or he's living under a completely new identity, hiding in plain sight. He knows that someone with that kind of strength wouldn't just give up, and he's probably out there right now sharpening his blade for the next attack. We then cut to Leiddon, who is indeed hiding in plain sight by burying his nose in a mountain of books. He's been studying up on the Hall of Righteousness, the Alliance branch that manages all the paperwork, intelligence, and internal affairs. To get close to Gao, Leiddon knows he must pass the strategist exam and land a position in that very hall. He lets out a groan, realizing that becoming a student again is going to be a huge headache. He looks up from his scroll, his expression a perfect blend of boredom and determination. His servant Guangtou enters, carrying another enormous stack of books, a look of genuine worry on his face. He tells Leiddon that the rumors are flying again, specifically that the young master has finally gone mad. Leiddon just laughs it off, clearly unbothered by what the locals think of his newfound academic hobby. He even jokes that his own mother came by to check if he had a fever, since he was reading so much. Leiddon has been grinding his way through a huge range of subjects: military strategy, geography, espionage, and even logistics management. He's also branching out into art, philosophy, and medicine. Guangtou is skeptical, recalling that his master's past life was mostly focused on hitting things really hard. He asks if Leiddon actually read all of it or if he just skimmed through for the pictures. Leiddon admits he was skimming, but Guangtou knows his master well enough to be terrified by how quickly he actually absorbs information. Leiddon points out that speed reading is a skill, and you don't need to understand every single word to grasp the main idea. He smiles, explaining that getting bogged down in perfect understanding is just a waste of time. Suddenly, a cry of realization echoes through the room. Leiddon looks over at Guangtou, who is staring back at him with an expression of pure shock. Guangtou explains that in martial arts, abandoning perfection for even a second means you're a dead man. Leiddon realizes the kid has a very good point. In their world, good enough usually gets you killed. He gives a soft, appreciative smile, seeing that his student is maturing and starting to think for himself. Guangtou looks incredibly proud of himself, practically beaming from the rare praise. Leiddon notices and playfully teases him about being so cheerful lately, asking how a homebody like him knows so much about the outside world. He explains to Guangtou that books contain entire worlds if you just know how to look. Guangtou retorts with a bit of sass, pointing out that the real world is just outside the front door. Leiddon just chuckles, closing his book and looking truly content for the first time in a while. He's realized during his studies that many legendary martial masters also wrote books on non-martial topics, which has been a total eye-opener for him. He begins to wonder if his past self was like a frog in a well, only ever seeing the small patch of sky directly above. He admits to himself that his previous life was one-dimensional and that he never truly understood the complexities of the marine world. He didn't even know the true nature of the people he interacted with daily because he was too busy playing the part of a god. Now he's using this time in confinement to truly prepare for the world he's about to re-enter. Meanwhile, spring has finally arrived and cherry blossoms are beginning to bloom. The scene shifts to the Murim Alliance, which is currently swarming with people from all across the land. The streets are packed with aspiring warriors and strategists, all of them hoping for a shot at greatness. And Leiddon is right there in the middle of the crowd, looking like just another face in a sea of applicants. He strolls through the gates, looking completely relaxed despite the high stakes of the day. He soon finds himself before the Alliance leader, Hall, the very place where his new journey is set to kick off. He reflects on how strange it feels to be on the other side of things, taking an entrance exam for an organization he once led. He steps into a massive testing hall already filled with hundreds of applicants. Everyone looks so sharp and intense that Leiddon jokingly wonders if he'll even manage to pass. The proctor holds up a scroll and announces that the first test will be a written exam. As soon as his brush hits the paper, Leiddon realizes the questions cover basic knowledge he could answer in his sleep. He flies through the exam, his hand moving with a speed that would make a professional scribe jealous. He finishes with a confident smile, realizing that all those months of studying were practically overkill. The proctor collects the scrolls, glancing over them with a bored expression until he gets to Leiddon's. Leiddon notices the guy next to him is staring wide-eyed, looking completely overwhelmed by the test. While the guy beside him clutches his head in despair, Leiddon sits there calmly looking as if he's waiting for a bus. Suddenly the proctor calls out Leiddon's name, his voice filled with genuine surprise. It dawns on Leiddon that all those smart-looking people were mostly just putting on a brave face. They were struggling with things he found simple, and it feels good to be recognized for his mind for once, rather than just for his skill with the sword. The proctor announces that everyone who passed should return the next day for the second part of the exam. This second test is much harder as it requires applicants to share their own opinions and strategies on warfare. Leiddon smiles knowing that when it comes to actual battle experience, he's on a completely different level than the people grading his paper. Unsurprisingly, he aces the second test as well, and moves on to the final round. The next day is the final interview, and the tension in the air is thick enough to cut with a knife. Leiddon pushes open the heavy wooden doors and steps into the interview room with a calm expression. But his heart skips a beat when he sees who's at the head of the table. In the massive, otherwise empty room sits the very man he came to see, Commander Gao. Gao looks up, his expression unreadable, his gaze piercingly sharp as he stares Leiddon down. Leiddon has a flashback to his previous life, remembering Gao as a loyal and steadfast man, even as everything else was falling apart. He can see that Gao is doing well in his current role, despite the corruption of his superiors. Leiddon takes a seat, the sound of the chair legs scraping against the floor, echoing in the otherwise silent room. Gao begins the interview by confirming Leiddon's identity as the heir to the B clan of Shandong. He asks why someone from such a prestigious martial family would want a humble position as a strategist in the Hall of Righteousness. Gao's gaze is intense, searching for any sign of a lie or ulterior motive. Leiddon meets his stare with a perfectly respectful smile, hiding the fact that he's secretly the world's strongest warrior. Gao looks down at a scroll, noting that Leiddon achieved the highest score on the second test. Leiddon feigns humility, saying he must have just gotten lucky with the questions. Gao's eyes narrow. He knows an answer that good can't be chalked up to simple luck. Leiddon reminds himself that Gao can't stand show-offs, so he has to maintain a calm and understated demeanor. Gao then moves on to the big question, his martial arts skills. Leiddon replies that while martial arts may not be essential for a strategist, he's more than confident in his ability to defend himself. Gao asks for a demonstration, and Leiddon stands up, ready to show off just a tiny fraction of what he can do. Leiddon asks Gao to simply toss a single sheet of paper into the air. Gao looks skeptical, but obliges, flicking a piece of parchment into the quiet room. The paper flutters through the air, drifting slowly toward the ground. Leiddon draws his sword in a flash, deciding to only reveal the level of skill he possessed when he first mastered basic swordsmanship. He moves like a shadow, his blade carving arcs of light through the air. Gao's eyes widen as he witnesses the fluidity and precision of Leiddon's movements. The tip of his blade remains perfectly steady as it closes in on the paper. In a flash of steel, the single sheet is instantly diced into dozens of smaller identical squares. Leiddon sheathes his blade with a satisfying click as the paper confetti drifts gently down around him. The entire display took less than a second, and the air is now filled with the falling scraps of paper, each one cut to a perfectly uniform size. The pieces settle gently on the floor, a silent testament to the absolute control Leiddon just displayed. Gao is speechless for a moment, his mouth hanging slightly open as he processes what he just witnessed. Leiddon simply stands there and offers a humble bow, as if he'd just performed a simple card trick, not a masterclass display of swordsmanship. Gao finally recovers his composure and tells Leiddon that his skill is without a doubt excellent. Leiddon thinks to himself that the Hall of Righteousness must be full of geniuses if they're impressed by this level of skill. He suspects that Gao is looking for a strategist who can actually survive a fight, which makes perfect sense for the missions they handle. 2 days later, the results are in. Leon is one of only 5 people accepted into the Hall of Righteousness. He shows up for his first day, introducing himself as the new military strategist for Operations Team 5. The other members of the team look at him with a mix of curiosity and slight suspicion. Later, Gao calls Leiddon into his office and asks him what his actual dream for the future is. Leiddon thinks to himself that Gao would be shocked if he knew the truth. His goal is to tear down the Alliance leader and his puppet masters. But out loud, he just says he wants to become a good strategist. When Gao asks what makes a strategist good, Leiddon says it's someone who can lead effectively while keeping his men alive. Gao's eyes lock onto Leon, searching for any sign of weakness or idealism. He asks if it's possible to win a war by being too cautious, and Leon firmly replies that he refuses to treat his comrades like disposable pieces. Gao looks down at the scrolls on his desk, his expression darkening. Leon adds that he wants to be capable as well as compassionate. Gao closes his eyes, calling Leon ambitious, though he doesn't say it like it's a bad thing. The rest of the team watches the interaction from a distance, sensing the weight of the conversation. Gao finally offers a small, rare smile, welcoming Leon to the team and telling him to do his best. Leiddon bows deeply, asking Gal to guide him well as they move forward. As Leiddon leaves, Gal's face returns to its stoic mask, but you can tell Leiddon has made a lasting impression. Over the next few days, Leon settles in quickly, getting along with his new teammates and making himself useful. He also starts digging for info, learning that Gal was once tortured by Samashion's and locked in a small room for years. Somehow Gal managed to win Samashion's favor and rise to lead his own team, which is a miracle in itself. Leiddon feels a pang of pity for Gal, realizing how much the man has had to endure to get where he is. The look in his eyes shows he's even more determined to get Gal on his side. He also finds out that the main mission of Team 5 was originally to hunt down the unnamed great hero, which is literally Leiddon. He has to hide a smirk, thinking about how ironic it is that he's now being paid to find himself. But since the trail went cold, the team has shifted their focus to rooting out corrupt warriors within the Myrm. Leon realizes Gal is essentially fighting his own war against the corruption of the Alliance, just on a smaller scale. 6 days into his new job, Gal summons Leon to his office once again. He asks if the workload has been manageable so far, sounding almost like a normal boss. Leon says everyone has been helpful and he's settling in perfectly. Gal hands him a thick folder, his face turning serious once again. He orders Leon to investigate the contents immediately and bring back a report as soon as possible. Leiddon walks away, his eyes scanning the first page of the file with a sharp, knowing look. He realizes this isn't just a regular assignment. It's a final test of his abilities. The next morning, Gal is looking over the report, his face showing a level of shock he rarely lets anyone see. He looks up from the paper, his mind clearly racing as he looks toward the door. He notes that even for an expert, this investigation should have taken 3 full days, but Leiddon finished the whole thing in just 1. Our boy is just built different. Welcome back to the corporate ladder of death. We're at the Justice Pavilion, where our guy, Leiddon, is currently speedrunning his way through the world's most dangerous internship. Commander Gao looks at the massive stack of finished reports on his desk, like Leiddon just performed a magic trick. He asks if Leon really handled all of this by himself in record time. Leon gives a simple yes, making the whole prodigy thing look easy. Gal is genuinely impressed, which is saying a lot for a man who usually looks like he's chewing on lemons. Gal points out that even the fastest veteran would have taken at least 3 days to clear this backlog. But Leiddon did it in 1, and the quality is so perfect, it's almost insulting. Our MC is basically the chat GPT of the martial arts world right now. Gal gives him a bit of office wisdom, telling him that finishing work this fast is a trap. You don't get a bonus, you just get a bigger pile of work tomorrow. Leon just smirks. He isn't here for a paycheck. He's here for something much more valuable. He tells Gal straight up that he's doing it to earn the commander's trust. Bold move, but Leiddon knows that playing the eager student is the best way to get close to the target. Gal tests him, immediately handing over yet another thick file. Leiddon takes it without even blinking. He asks if Leon can handle even more work than yesterday. Leon's just thinking about how this is still way easier than his past life as a martial god. The next morning rolls around and the Justice Pavilion is already buzzing. Gal is staring at the new reports, looking like he's having an existential crisis. He's thinking, this brat actually did it again. This task was supposed to be even more complex. Yet here it is, finished and polished. A small smile actually cracks through Gal's stoic face for a split second. He starts having a flashback, remembering that he used to be a workaholic just like this back in the day. We see a younger Gal buried in scrolls. He sees a kindred spirit in Leiddon, someone who actually gives a damn about the details. Night falls over the Alliance headquarters, but the lights in the office stay on. It's time for classic corporate bonding move drinks. Gal pours a bowl of rice wine for Leiddon. Gal apologizes for the lack of a proper welcome feast. Things are tense because the Alliance is panicking over the rumors of the demonic cult's return. He looks at Leiddon with a softened gaze. Finally treating him like a person instead of just an intern, Leiddon plays it cool, saying he's just grateful to be included. But behind those calm eyes, Leon is analyzing everything. He's looking for the chink in Gal's armor. He reflects on how, in his past life, he and Gal never really sat down for a drink like this. In the past, they were strictly professional. Gal was always the perfect subordinate, and Leon was the untouchable leader. Leon realizes that back then he focused way too much on his own authority to actually see the man standing right in front of him. They clink bowls. This is the start of a real connection, one built on more than just paperwork. They sit by the window. 2 strategists sharing a moment of peace before the world inevitably goes to hell. Leiddon decides to push his luck and asks Gal a personal question. He brings up that Gal was the chief strategist for the previous Alliance leader. Gal confirms it, his voice dropping an octave as the memories of the old days surface. Leiddon asks the million-dollar question. Why didn't you leave the Alliance when the new leadership took over? You can almost hear the gears grinding in Gal's head. He grips his drink a little tighter. The silence stretches out. Gal is deciding how much of his soul he's willing to show this rookie. Leon watches him, knowing he's close to uncovering the secret that keeps a man like Gal serving a snake like Samachian. Gal sets his bowl down on the table with a firm click. He admits that leaving wasn't an option. He dedicated his entire life to the Alliance. It's the only world he knows. Leiddon realizes Gal isn't telling him everything. He can see the fire in Gal's eyes. This man isn't staying out of loyalty. He's staying for revenge. Leiddon knows that until he hears the real story, he hasn't truly won Gal over yet. Leiddon shifts the conversation, mentioning that he had a lot of worries before applying for this job. He brings up the rumors about the Chando Gate, basically the shadow organization pulling the Alliance's strings. He's testing to see how much Gal knows. Gal hums thoughtfully, his expression darkening at the mention of the corruption. He tells Leiddon to just focus on doing their own work diligently. It's the classic keep your head down advice. Leiddon smiles to himself. He's not here to keep his head down, he's here to cut the heads off the people at the top. He agrees with a polite yes strategist, playing the part perfectly. A quick montage shows Leon blending in with the other strategists, becoming a popular face in the office. He's still grinding, always the first to arrive and the last to leave. He's laughing with the veterans, building up a social network that will be vital later on. This kid is a social chameleon. Everyone thinks he's just a hard-working genius, not a god-tier martial artist. More time passes, and the leaves on the trees are finally starting to turn green. Gal is interrupted by a sudden arrival. His eyes widen as he recognizes the visitor. It's Samachian. The lead strategist himself walks into the room with that annoying, self-important stride. He greets Gal with zero warmth. You can tell there's absolutely no love lost between them. Samachian plops down in the main chair like he owns the place. Leon and the other interns watch from the side, sensing the shift in the air. Leon thinks about how dangerous it is for a snake like this to show up without any notice. Sama drops the news. Orders have come down from the very top of the Alliance. It's related to the demonic cult. The one Leon knows for a fact is dead and buried. Gal looks shocked. He knows that whenever the cult is mentioned, bodies start dropping. Samachian says the mission is top secret. The Qiangung squad is moving out, and the Justice Pavilion has to provide field support. Gal clarifies the orders. Usually they just do the paperwork for missions like this. They don't go to the front lines. Leon realizes this is a major operation. Strategists only get sent out to the field when things are about to get bloody. Samachian tells Gal he has to go personally because the mission is that important. Gal agrees, but his face is a dead giveaway. He's completely suspicious. He knows Samachian is probably leading him straight into a trap. After Samachian leaves, the room falls deathly silent as the weight of the situation begins to sink in. Gal is left wondering why the Chang squad of all units was chosen for this mission. Leiddon watches him, anticipating the explanation he knows is coming. As it turns out, there are 3 core units in the Alliance. The Bright Moon and Iron Cavalry squads are loyal to the current leader, Maongi, but the Chonggong squad was the only one to oppose Maongi's rise to power. They are the political outcasts. It's then that Gal realizes what's happening. This isn't a mission, it's a purge. They're sending the one disloyal unit on a suicide mission. Leiddon steps forward and declares he wants to go too. Gal is floored that the rookie wants to sign up for a death sentence. Leiddon insists his martial arts can help protect the commander. He's playing up his confident rookie persona to get a front row seat to the action. Gal stares at him, trying to figure out if Leiddon is brave or just unbelievably stupid. He finally tells Leiddon to get ready. The game is officially afoot. The next morning, under a heavy gray sky, the mission departs. The Chiang squad is ready to move out. Dozens of horses and a heavily armored carriage are waiting outside the gates. Here we meet the squad leader, Jiang Chonra. He's an old-school legend with white hair and eyes that have seen far too much war. He greets Gal, and you can see a spark of mutual respect between the two veterans. Chonra says the mission is urgent, so they'll discuss the details on the road. Leiddon senses someone watching him and turns to see their assigned guard. This is Yang Ho. He's a masked professional who tells them flat out that they must follow his instructions if things go south. Leiddon just offers him a friendly smile. He's thinking, buddy, if things get ugly, I'm the one who's going to be protecting you. They get into the carriage, and the gates of the Alliance headquarters swing open. The squad gallops out in perfect formation. This isn't just a troop deployment, it's a statement. Young Ho readies beside the carriage, his eyes constantly scanning their surroundings for threats. Inside, Gal observes that the mission is so highly classified that even the people on it are in the dark. Chanra confirms it, his face like stone as he stares ahead. Leiddon realizes just how unusual this is. Normally, strategists would lead the briefing, but here they're being completely shut out. This mission smells more like a setup by the second, and Leiddon's eyes sharpen as he prepares for the inevitable betrayal. Chanra says he can't share the details yet. He will inform them only when they reach their target. Gal accepts this with a nod. He knows the rules of the game even if he doesn't like them. Chanra looks conflicted for a moment, his expression softening as he glances at Gal. He decides to break protocol, swayed by his old friendship with Gal, and tells them their destination early. Their destination is the Sword Incense Forest in Chongqing. Gal is visibly shaken. He recognizes that name, and it doesn't bring good memories. This place was one of the 3 sacred grounds of the Blood Heavenly demonic cult. Sending an alliance unit there is like throwing a lit match into a powder keg. Leiddon's face turns grim. He's the one who personally cleansed that forest in his past life. He knows exactly what kind of horrors are buried there. Gal thanks Chanra for the heads up. His mind is already spinning with tactical possibilities. Chanra admits that having Gal along makes him feel much more reassured about the mission's success. Gal tries to be humble, but you can tell the immense weight of the responsibility is hitting him hard. He looks out the window, knowing that once they enter that forest, there's no guarantee they're coming back out. We cut to a flashback where Leiddon remembers meeting a younger young Chanra long before he became a leader of the Alliance. Back then, Chanra was an incredible archer, a man who could supposedly hit a leaf from a mile away in a thunderstorm. Leiddon liked him because his eyes were clear and honest, as sharp and pure as a polished arrowhead. As a young man, Chanra had a huge bow slung over his back and a massive ego to match. He told Leiddon that one day he'd become the greatest archer in the world and even defeat the martial god himself. Leiddon looks at the older Chanra, now feeling a deep sense of gratitude that the man stayed true to his principles until the very end. Back in the present, Jianghu is still riding guard, his masked face giving away nothing at all. Gal asks Leiddon if he's nervous, considering this is his first real field mission. Leiddon says he isn't nervous in the slightest, which surprises Gal. Most rookies would be shaking in their boots by now. Leiddon smirks and says it's because he's with a legendary strategist. It's a classic suck-up move, but Leiddon actually means it. Gal calls him out for being too good with his words. But Leiddon doubles down, saying there's nothing to fear when he's with the man who once led the entire alliance. He instantly realizes he might have overstepped. Bringing up Gal's past leadership is a pretty touchy subject. But Gal just lets out a chuckle. He's really starting to like this kid's spirit. Leon then asks Gal which operation from his long and storied career stands out the most. He's genuinely curious to know what left such a lasting impression on the legendary warrior. Leon assumes it must be one of the major wars against the dark factions or the blood cult, but Gal's answer is completely unexpected. Operation New Dragon. Leon is absolutely floored. He's never even heard of that operation, which seems impossible since he was the leader of the entire alliance back then. Gal's gaze turns distant, his eyes filled with a deep sadness that seems to stretch back for decades. Leon racks his brain, but he comes up completely blank. He has zero memory of anything called Operation New Dragon, which means it was either a top-secret mission or it happened right under his nose. As night falls on their journey, a bright moon hangs high above the shadowy mountains. The squad makes camp in the woods for the night. Fires are lit and guards take their positions. Jianghu leans against a tree, his hand never straying far from his weapon. This guy is the very definition of on alert. The camp settles into a quiet stillness, with only the crackle of the fire breaking the silence of the night. Meanwhile, Leon is busy setting up the sleeping arrangements. He carefully spreads out a blanket for Gal, attending to the small details like any good subordinate would. A soft smile plays on his lips. He's really enjoying the chance to look after Gal in this life. He tells the old warrior to get some rest and make sure to cover up as the night air is growing chilly. Gal thanks him, looking genuinely touched by the thoughtful gesture. Leon reflects on how he never had the chance to do this for him in his past life. He realizes this second chance isn't just about gaining power. It's about reconnecting with the people he lost. Just then, Chanra walks over with a bottle asking if anyone's up for a drink. They pour a round of rice wine right there in the middle of the dark forest. It has the ultimate calm before the storm vibe. The veteran warriors gather by the fire, sharing stories of battles long past. Someone calls out, "Hey, strategist," and Leon turns thinking they mean him. Sure enough, a group of off-duty warriors invites him to join them for a drink. They've already heard whispers about the genius intern and are curious to see what he's all about. Leon accepts with a friendly smile. He knows that winning over the rank-and-file soldiers is every bit as important as impressing the commanders. The fire blazes, casting long dancing shadows against the trees. They hand Leon a bowl and tell him, "Drink up, kid. It's going to be a long journey." One of the warriors asks if Leon has ever practiced swordsmanship, noting how rare it is for a brainy strategist to have any real combat skills. Leon acts modest, saying he's just a newcomer, and is still getting used to the whole strategist title. They share a laugh and tell him that one day he'll be the one leading them into battle. When that time comes, they say, "Take good care of us, okay?" Leon realizes that beneath all the friendly joking, these men are being completely sincere. They understand that in war, a good strategist can be the difference between life and death. He looks at their faces, his eyes reflecting the flickering firelight. He's reminded that not too long ago, men just like these were under his direct command. He makes a silent promise to them that he won't forget their faces. In a world so often filled with betrayal, it's a moment of genuine human connection. From the shadows, Gal watches the scene unfold. His expression is unreadable, but it's clear he recognizes Leon's rare gift for leadership. Leon's laughter rings out, echoing through the dark woods as he shares a moment with the men. Another day of travel passes, and then another. The squad is now deep in enemy territory. The forest grows thicker, its trees twisting into shapes that look more like gnarled claws than plants. At dawn on the fourth day, the peace is shattered. The camp is arranged in a circle with most of the men still asleep in their bedrolls. The guards are at their posts, but they haven't sensed anything amiss. Leon is leaning against a tree. His eyes are closed, but his senses are dialed up to 11. Suddenly, his eyes snap open. He's detected something. He picks up on subtle movements coming from every direction. This is no stray animal, it's an ambush. He realizes they're being surrounded by a large number of highly skilled assassins. Leon doesn't hesitate for a second. He lets out a massive shout, "Enemies!" The guards are startled into action, their hands flying to their sword hilts. Yang Ho is already on his feet, his eyes scanning the tree line. Gal bursts from his tent, his expression hardening, just as the first arrows begin to whistle through the air. The assassins strike from the shadows, moving with a supernatural speed that proves they're elite troops. The air instantly fills with the clash of blades and the groans of wounded men. The Chang squad reacts in an instant. They're true professionals, immediately forming a defensive circle around the strategists. Arcs of chi energy fly through the air, slicing down trees and tearing through the morning mist. Qianra bellows for the men to hold their ground and not give chase. Strengthen the defenses. Protect the perimeter. Leon watches the chaos unfold quickly, realizing these attackers are far more organized than your average bandits. As the sun begins to rise, it reveals the bloody aftermath of the short but brutal skirmish. They examine the bodies of the fallen assassins, but find absolutely nothing. No tattoos, no identification, not even a single marking on their gear. Leon knows exactly what this means. These are ghost units, professional hitmen employed by the high-ranking factions of the Murim. Gal and Qianra look over the bodies. The silence between them is heavy with the realization they've been targeted by one of their own. Gal demands to know what the real mission is. An attack this organized proves it's about more than just some old cult ruins. Qianra looks Gal in the eye and tells him he simply can't say. Gal asks if it's a matter of trust. Qianra insists it isn't, but revealing a classified mission is a death sentence in the Alliance. Gal counters that there's a clause for disclosure during emergencies. Is getting ambushed by a literal army not an emergency? Qianra's jaw is set. He's a man of principles. Even if those principles are going to get them all killed? I'm sorry, Gal, I still can't tell you. The man's loyalty is both his greatest strength and his biggest flaw. Leiddon watches them, thinking about how stubborn Qianra has always been. He's the type to follow orders down to the very last detail, no matter the cost. Gal accepts the decision with a frustrated sigh. They need to leave immediately before the next wave of attackers arrives. He also recommends changing their route to throw off any trackers. Qianra agrees. As they prepare to move out, Qianra stops and looks back at Leiddon. He asks who it was that alerted them to the enemy's presence. Leiddon raises his hand. That was me. Qianra stares at him, his sharp archer's eyes trying to pierce through Leiddon's facade. He asks how a mere strategist could have noticed the assassins before even the elite guards did. Leiddon gives the most classic anime protagonist excuse ever. I woke up early because I was thirsty. He claims it was just pure luck that he saw some movement while getting a drink of water. Qianra puts a hand on Leiddon's shoulder and thanks him. We might have been wiped out if it weren't for you. There's a look of genuine respect in the old archer's eyes. To him, Leiddon is no longer just some rookie. Leiddon just smiles and says he only did what anyone would have done. Gal watches the interaction, realizing his intern is becoming the MVP of the mission before it's even really started. But the danger is far from over. As they venture deeper into the Sword and Sense forest, the real mystery of Operation New Dragon lies in wait. While the forest turns into a graveyard, Let's check in on the Alliance Leaders Hall, where the real snakes are hissing. Bongi, the big boss himself, is sitting there looking like he might start a war just because his tea is cold. His gaze is sharp enough to cut stone. He's been watching the shadows move, and he finally knows who's pulling the strings. He confronts Samakian, pointing out that since becoming leader, he's done everything the Shadow Group asked for. So why are they still hiding from him? Samakian just takes a slow sip of his drink, completely unfazed. With the strongest man in the world breathing down his neck, Samakian listens as Bongi admits he investigated Zhu Qiaolong in secret, but came up completely empty-handed. He couldn't find a single clue as to why Zhu sided with the Shadow Group, or how they're even sending messages back and forth. He's sweating now, demanding to know what this mysterious group actually wants. He even sent the Qiangong squad out on that suicide mission just as they asked. Samachian plays dumb, claiming they only sent the squad because they detected traces of the demonic cult's revival. Bongi's face twists into a smirk that says, "I will kill you if you lie to me again." He asks if Samakian really takes him for a fool. He slams his hand on the table. The mask is off, and the political games are officially over. Bongi scoffs at the idea of the demonic cult reviving. He knows the history better than anyone, and he knows a fake when he sees one. He leans in, his killing intent flooding the room. He knows the signs were fabricated from the start. He tells Samakian straight up, "You guys made the whole thing up just to have an excuse to move your troops." Samakian doesn't even flinch. He claims everything they're doing is for the leader's own good. He points out the obvious political reality: the Qiangong squad's leader is the head of a faction that opposes Bongi. Bongi falls silent. He knows he's being offered a deal. Let the Shadow Group eliminate his enemies, and he gets to keep his throne. Samakian adds that since the squad leader is so skilled, he'll surely return safely. It's the ultimate backhanded compliment. Bongi is fuming. He knows return safely is code for he's already dead in a ditch. He realizes he just signed a death warrant for one of the Alliance's strongest units, all to secure his own power. Samakian gives a polite bow and takes his leave, walking out like he just won a game of chess. Left alone, Bongi is trembling with rage. He's the Alliance leader, but he feels like a puppet on a string. Samakian walks down the hallway with a satisfied smirk. For him, everything is going exactly according to plan. The massive doors slam shut, sealing their fate. The squad in the forest is now entirely on its own. Back in the woods, Leiddon's voice cuts through the silence. Enemies. The sound of heavy footsteps echoes through the trees as the ambushers close their trap. A massive wall of shield bearers materializes from the darkness, and these guys are no ordinary bandits. They're a highly trained military unit. They charge the carriage, aiming to overwhelm the squad before they can even draw their swords. Their formation is flawless, trapping the Qiangong squad in a perfect kill zone with no room to maneuver. Leon takes in the entire situation in a split second. This location was clearly chosen because the dense trees render the squad's archers useless. The enemy archers, on the other hand, have no such problem. A volley of arrows suddenly whistles through the air. The shields clang together as they advance a slow-moving wall of death, intent on crushing the life out of the squad. The squad members are frozen in shock. They've never encountered a group this disciplined and well-equipped, especially out in the middle of nowhere. Suddenly, a brilliant beam of blue energy tears through the mist, looking like a lightning strike in human form. A massive explosion rocks the enemy's front line as Leon decides it's time to stop playing the part of the clumsy intern. Meanwhile, Zhang Qianra stands ready, his body glowing with an intense blue aura. The legend is finally getting serious. He notches an arrow. The chi around his fingers vibrates with enough power to level a building. He releases the string and the shot becomes a blur of pure destruction. The enemy's shield formation shatters instantly. Shards of iron and wood fly everywhere as their defensive line completely breaks. The assassins are thrown into chaos. They clearly weren't expecting the old man to have this much gas left in the tank. But Qianra doesn't stop there. He notches another arrow, his eyes locked onto the next target with predatory focus, followed by another explosion. He's systematically dismantling their defenses from a distance while Leon watches from the side, silent and calculating. He's letting the squad handle it for now, ready to jump in the moment they hit a wall. Unfortunately, the enemy's numbers are just too high. For every assassin, they take down two more, seem to crawl out of the shadows. Someone desperately shouts for reinforcements, but the request is denied. They are completely on their own. Spotting a gap in the enemy's shield wall, Leon decides it's his turn to play. He launches himself into the air and drops down on them like a meteor, his blade already halfway through its first deadly arc. He carves through a shield bearer as if he were cutting through butter. His speed is so insane that the poor guy doesn't even realize he's dead yet. The surrounding assassins freeze in their tracks. They were told there was only one master in this group. Who in the world is this kid? Leon shouts for the squad to move, now telling them he's created an opening and they need to take it. He moves through the enemy ranks like a ghost, a total blur of motion that leaves nothing but blood in its wake. The assassins let out a collective scream of terror as Leon turns their own perfect formation into a complete slaughterhouse. Leon gives them a cold, terrifying smirk. It's clear he's starting to enjoy this a little too much. He comes face to face with a massive shield man looking completely unimpressed by the wall of iron standing before him. The assassin grunts and tries to bash him with the shield, but Leon is already gone. A quick kick shatters the shield into pieces, and a follow-up strike finishes the job. It's a display of absolute efficiency. Blood sprays the nearby trees as Leon continues his dance of death, not even breaking a sweat. The remaining assassins finally realize they're in big trouble. They try to surround him, but it's like trying to catch smoke with your bare hands. Leon stands calmly in the middle of the carnage, his eyes glowing with a dark and powerful intensity. This is the martial god finally coming out to play. More arrows fly, but they all miss their mark, as Leon's movements are just too unpredictable. He leaps into the air again, spinning with lethal grace before slicing another enemy clean in half. The force of the blow sends shockwaves through the ground, leaving the squad members to just watch in absolute awe. They're supposed to be the elites, but this kid is making them all look like amateurs. The remaining assassins start to back away, their morale completely shattered by just one man. Tianra watches Leon with a mix of shock and a dawning realization. He knows that kind of skill doesn't just come from a textbook. One final assassin attempts a desperate strike, but it's over before it even starts. Leon puts him down with zero effort. The forest goes silent once again as Leon stands among the bodies, the adrenaline finally starting to fade. He has the look of a demon who just finished a light workout. He takes a deep breath, his expression returning to its usual calm mask. Sheathing his sword, he looks back at the squad and asks, "Is everyone okay?" The scene is a total massacre. Dozens of elite assassins were wiped out in mere minutes, and most of them fell at Leon's hand. Tianra walks up to him, his expression completely unreadable. He admits that Leon's martial arts are in fact quite impressive. Coming from Tianra, that's like winning an Olympic gold medal. Leon, of course, plays the humble card, saying he couldn't have done it without the squad's support. It's classic main character behavior, but Tianra doesn't look convinced. He's seen a lot in his life, but Leon is shaping up to be the biggest mystery yet. Meanwhile, the other squad members look at Leon with newfound respect. They all know they'd be dead if he hadn't stepped up. Leon explains his logic. Simply, he just figured that taking out the shield bearers was the fastest way to break their formation. He adds that their movements were restricted by the shields, making them easy targets. He's making it sound like a math problem. Shanra notes that having the guts to rush out in such a critical moment is something most veterans can't even do. He turns to Commander Gal and tells him he has an excellent subordinate. Gal just nods, his eyes fixed on Leiddon. He's starting to realize that his new intern might be the most dangerous person in the Alliance. Leiddon gives a polite smile, but inside he's thinking, Phase 1 complete. They finally trust my sword. The squad gathers around their fallen comrades. Even with Leiddon's help, they didn't get away scot-free. Leiddon walks over to Gal, the mood turning serious once again. Gal tells him straight, "You saved us again." Leiddon just shrugs and says he was just lucky. Gal hits him with a heavy line. When luck piles up like that, we call it skill. Mic drop moment. He thanks Leiddon one last time, a rare moment of genuine warmth between the two. The moon hangs high over the forest. The first battle is over, but the real nightmare is just beginning. The squad is regrouping, but the air is thick with tension. Tianra finally decides to drop the secrecy. He confirms that the demonic cult has indeed been revived. The reason he's so sure, a high-level master from the cult actually reached out expressing a wish to surrender. Leiddon and Gal both look shocked. A defector at that level is almost unheard of in the cult's history. Gal asks the obvious question, who is it? Tianra doesn't know the name, but he's certain the guy holds a major position within the cult. He explains that this is why they couldn't abandon the operation. Getting an inside man like this would change everything. Gal is skeptical. If the cult is sending assassins to kill them, doesn't that mean the defector is already busted? He suggests the guy is probably already dead. But Tianra disagrees. He reveals that a powerful formation has been activated in the forest, making it impossible for anyone to enter. The defector promised to deactivate that formation for the squad at a specific time. Gal asks how they can possibly trust a promise from a demon worshipper. Tianra says the guy sent incontrovertible proof. Gal asks if he's actually seen this evidence. The Alliance leader has seen it. That's the final word. Bongi's stamp of approval is the only thing that matters. This is the reason the order was issued, and why they're risking everything on this gamble. Leiddon and Gal share a look. Both of them are thinking the exact same thing. This is a perfect trap. Leiddon knows how the cult works better than anyone, and this has ambush written all over it. He realizes the danger. They're being forced to increase their speed to make it to the deadline, leaving them wide open for more attacks. Tianra points out the stakes. If the cult returns, countless people will die. But if they can pull this off, they could annihilate the cult before the war even starts. He's willing to trade his life for that chance. Leiddon looks at him. Seeing the desperate determination of a man who just wants peace, he realizes that for someone as loyal as Tianra, this trap is actually impossible to resist. Gal warns him that going without a solid plan is suicide. Tianra doesn't care. I will not retreat. He tells Gal not to waste time trying to persuade him. The old man has already made his choice. Leiddon wonders if Tianra is really that blind to the trap. No, he realizes the truth. Tianra knows it's a trap, but he's still willing to sacrifice himself for even a 1% chance of stopping the war. The three of them stand in the moonlight, a team of geniuses walking straight into a slaughterhouse. Gal closes his eyes, finally accepting the situation. He tells Tianra he will help. He understands the old man's heart because he's just as stubborn. Leiddon thinks to himself that Gal would definitely feel that way. These people are way too noble for their own good. Leiddon pulls out a piece of gear, heart-protecting armor. He tells Gal to put it on. Gal is surprised, asking where he even got something like this in the middle of a mission. Gal tries to give it back, saying Leiddon should wear it since he's the one doing the fighting. Leiddon insists. He tells Gal that if the strategist is safe, he can fight with total peace of mind. He asks Gal to just listen to him this one time. There's a rare moment of genuine emotion in Leiddon's voice. Gal looks at him, finally relenting. He can see that Leiddon truly cares about his safety. Gal ties the armor on the straps tightening as he prepares for the final push. Leiddon apologizes, saying he only managed to get this in a hurry, so it isn't the best quality. He promises Gal that later he'll get him something truly fine. This is basically Leiddon promising. They're both getting out alive. Leiddon watches him, his eyes softening. He lost Gal once. He's not letting it happen again. He asks if it's uncomfortable. Gal says it's actually very comfortable. Leiddon smiles and tells him to keep it on until the mission's over. Gal gives a final nod, cementing their unbreakable bond. It's time to move and fast. A shout echoes through the woods as the squad kicks into high gear. The forest looms ahead, a menacing wall of dark mountains and gnarled trees. Their formation slithers like a snake through the dense undergrowth with every man on high alert. Tianra leads the way, followed by Gal and Leiddon. The tension is so thick you could cut it with a knife. Suddenly a group of figures materializes among the trees. They're being watched. Leiddon's eyes snap to the left. He sensed the threat before anyone else did. His head turns in a blur, his hand already gripping the hilt of his blade. Just then, another massive wave of assassins descends from the canopy. This is the main assault. They're advancing with shields and spears in a perfect anti-cavalry formation. Qian Rock bellows the order. Enemy Qian Gong Squad. Respond. He notches and fires an arrow in one fluid motion, a streak of light illuminating the dark woods. The arrow strikes a shield and explodes, but it's clear these guys are using higher quality gear than the last group. The assassins charge in their movements, perfectly coordinated and deadly, as arrows fly from both sides. Men are dropping like flies on both sides of the battlefield. Leiddon looks over at Gal and tells him he'll be right back. He's going to hunt down the head of the snake. He launches himself into the heart of the enemy formation, a true one-man army. He spins his blade, creating a circle of white chai that shreds anything it touches. He cleanly carves through an assassin in midair. Blood rains down on the forest floor. He drops into a roll, already targeting his next victim. His speed is just unreal at this point. He takes out 3 more in a single swipe, the ground beneath his feet turning red. Leiddon realizes this is completely different from the first ambush. These assailants are prepared to die just to slow them down. They have the numerical advantage and are charging as if ordered to slaughter everyone, regardless of their own losses. An assassin tries to sneak up behind him, but Leiddon doesn't even have to look. Tianra fires another explosive arrow, desperately trying to keep the path clear. He looks worried. Even he is struggling against the sheer number of attackers. Suddenly, a massive figure leaps through the air, heading straight for the old man. It's the enemy leader, dual-wielding blades and descending with enough force to split a mountain. Tianra barely manages to block the blow, the impact sending him skidding back across the dirt. The assassin leader's face is a mask of pure killing intent. He knows Tianra is the key to their defense. He screams at the old man to just die, already striking again with blades that move like flickering shadows. Tianra is forced onto the defensive, his age finally starting to show against such a ferocious opponent. A shallow cut appears on his shoulder. Leiddon sees this and realizes he needs to wrap up his side of the fight, and fast. The assassin leader has closed the distance. The old man is in deep trouble. The assassin leader prepares for a final lethal strike. He has the old man cornered. He brings his blades down, but they're stopped in midair by a sudden flash of steel. Tianra looks up stunned as the assassin leader's eyes widen in disbelief at who he sees. Leiddon shoves the leader back with a massive surge of chi. The leader is terrified, wondering, who is this guy? This level of inner energy is insane. Leiddon launches into a counterattack, moving faster than the eye can follow. He carves through the air, his blade leaving a trail of white light. Two more assassins try to intervene, but Leiddon puts them down without even looking away from their leader. He once again stands face to face with the leader. The real duel is on, and the leader is starting to panic. He realizes Leiddon was the one who foiled all their previous attacks. He looks at Leiddon's face and sees the visage of a war god. Our guy is finally letting a bit of his true power show. They clash again, the sound of steel ringing through the forest like thunder. Leiddon's technique is on another level. He's systematically dismantling the leader's fighting style. The leader screams for his men to kill Leiddon before he can grow any stronger. He knows if this kid survives, they're all done for, but it's already too late. Leiddon moves in for the kill, his blade a blur of pure light. He focuses his chi into a single needle-thin point of absolute destruction. The leader's eyes bulge in shock. He can see his own death approaching, and there is nothing he can do to stop it. A single clean slice across the throat sends a spray of blood into the air. The leader crumples to the ground, his life ended, by a single perfect strike. Tianra just stares, his mouth agape in total disbelief. He just watched a rookie accomplish something he hasn't seen in 50 years. The scene shifts, opening on a cold, desolate mountain range. A pair of boots stands at the edge of a cliff, overlooking a sea of fog. This is our current villain of the week, looking like he's about to leave. A very disappointed 1-star review. His subordinate approaches to deliver the news the Blackwater sword has been eliminated. The boss doesn't even blink, just repeating the name as if he were checking an item off a grocery list. The damage report is brutal. 60 men dead, 30 more hospitalized, and the whole vibe is completely ruined. But the worst part, the enemy took basically 0 losses. The boss is actually impressed for a moment. He asks if the Qiangong squad is really that formidable. He then immediately follows up by labeling his own men as useless garbage, a textbook villain management technique. He presumes the renowned archer Yong Qian did all the difficult work. The subordinate is forced to deliver the most uncomfortable no in history. He explains that while Yong was preoccupied, some random youth essentially walked right up and detached their leader's head from his body. Cue the unavoidable screaming. The boss is now officially fuming. He inquires about the squad's current location, likely wishing he had just stayed in bed that morning. They've reached the Sword Incense Forest, their final destination. The boss's eyes narrow. He determines it's time to bring in the specialist. The time for games is over. We cut back to the forest itself. It's foggy green and has the distinct aroma of a trap. Gal and the squad are positioned in a clearing, looking about as if waiting for a tour guide who is 40 minutes behind schedule. Jiang is perplexed. The defector had promised a formation and a welcoming party, but the place is currently a ghost town. Leiddon is just standing by, looking unimpressed. He knows precisely why the formation is absent. It's because there was never any defector. It was merely a formal invitation to a funeral. Gal finally voices what everyone is thinking: they've been betrayed. He looks Yong straight in the eye and informs him the Alliance's objective isn't to seize the forest, but to eliminate them. Yong remains in a state of denial. He can't comprehend why the Alliance leader would want to get rid of his own most valuable assets. Gal spells it out for him. Yong is the only one remaining who can actually defy the leader, and in this world, that's a death sentence. Yong's expression becomes blank. The truth is finally crashing down on him like a freight train. Gal insists that he has to accept it. There's no other way to explain why they were dispatched here with absolutely no backup. He includes himself in that assessment as well. He's a constant annoyance to every corrupt official in the Alliance. Jiang stares at him, completely astounded. Gal brings up his own past, reminding Yang that even a master strategist is just a piece to be thrown away when it becomes too effective. They are both thorns in the side, and Maungi is currently attempting to do a bit of weeding. Jiang questions if the Alliance leader is truly that monstrous. Gal simply tells him to keep going. They will get their confirmation soon enough. Leiddon trails behind, listening as the two older men bond over their shared career-related trauma. They arrive at the very heart of the forest. Up ahead is the Sanctuary of Life and Death. It's essentially the Vatican for people who enjoy stabbing things. Rumor has it that the Blood Heaven cult stores all of its finest treasures inside. Yong freezes at the sight of the pagoda. This is a location that should be completely hidden from outsiders. The sanctuary emerges from the mist, looking ancient and incredibly foreboding. Leiddon gazes at it, and his internal thoughts shift direction. To everyone else, this is a forbidden temple. For Leon, it's a nostalgic return to his old workplace. He begins to recall the last time he was here back when he held the title of the Martial God. It's flashback time. It is raining, because of course it is. A younger, more blood-soaked Leon stands before the temple. Facing him is the Sword Demon. This man was basically the final boss of sword fighting in his time. They exchanged almost 400 moves. For perspective, most masters are defeated within 3. Leiddon privately admits he came close to death twice during that battle. In those days, his ego was as vast as his chi pool. He was the quintessential I'm the main character protagonist. He aimed to defeat the Sword Demon in under 100 moves, simply to show off his status. But that very arrogance nearly got him killed. The fight dragged on because he was prioritizing flashiness over efficiency. That was the day he vowed to never again be greedy for a swift victory. This marked the birth of the workaholic, martial god we know and appreciate. We return to the present. The squad is nearing the pagoda's entrance. Gal glances at Leiddon, noticing the kid is a bit too composed for someone about to enter a demonic, holy place. The courtyard is blanketed in moss and littered with abandoned tools. The doors are hanging from their hinges. The place has clearly been deserted for a very long time. Jiang stands in the middle of the yard, appearing as if he's expecting something to occur. Leon observes him. He recognizes that Yong is still clinging to the hope that this is all just a huge misunderstanding. He wants to believe the defector was merely captured, not that his entire life's dedication was built on a lie. It's difficult for a man who dedicated his whole life to the Alliance to accept that the Alliance wants him dead. Yang lets out a sigh. The weight of the world rests upon his shoulders. He instructs everyone to take a break. They must rest before the impending boss battle. The squad gets settled in the courtyard. Men are propped against pillars tending to their wounds. They are utterly spent. Leiddon approaches a weary soldier and offers him a spot to sit. The man is taken aback. He's just a low-ranking soldier, and Leon is a high-level intern. Leon just offers him a gentle smile. Beneath all that cold logic, he still has a soft spot for the people who do the actual fighting. Gal approaches and tells Leon to stop being so humble. He notes that without Leon's warnings, they wouldn't have even survived the first mile. Gal concedes that even he was in peril during that last ambush. He officially gives Leiddon his respect, but Leiddon just nods. He's not here for the praise, he's here for recruitment. He looks up at the pagoda, thinking it doesn't feel like it's been all that long since his last visit. He remembers climbing to the top floor while his men search the levels below. The memory is vivid. He can almost smell the incense. Back then, he was too busy brooding over how long the fight took to actually pay attention to the room. He had thought it was just a simple attic, but now he realizes he might have overlooked the most important room in the entire temple. He spots something in the corner. It's a lock on a dusty cabinet, a very specific kind of lock. It uses rotating characters instead of a key. This is high-level security for a simple attic. Leiddon leans in closer. The characters are Guy and Pal. He remembers the Sword Demon mentioning something called the demonic 8 forms right before he died. He starts turning the dials. The cabinet doesn't just open. The entire wall starts to slide back with a heavy mechanical groan. Leiddon stares into the dark opening. He looks like someone who just found a secret level in a game he's already beaten 3 times. Leiddon steps into the hidden chamber. It's a private library, untouched for decades. In the center on a pedestal sits a single book. He picks it up, the Guy Mund book. This is the holy grail of formation techniques. It's basically the Blood Heaven cult's entire how-to guide for breaking the world. He can't believe it was just sitting here this entire time. His past self was such an edgelord that he missed a world-class treasure because he was too busy staring out a window. He looks at the book and thinks back to that rainy day. He remembers his subordinates watching him, waiting for him to say something profound. He realizes they didn't search the room because they were too intimidated by his mood. Bad leadership has its costs. Suddenly, the light from the entrance is blocked by a silhouette. Someone followed him. Leiddon turns around slowly. He smells something sweet like flowers, but wrong. His eyes go sharp. He recognizes this scent. Outside, the soldiers are dropping like flies. They aren't dead, just unconscious and twitching. The silhouette approaches. It's a man with a thin mustache and eyes that look like he hasn't slept in a week. The man is surprised Leiddon is still standing. He assumes Leiddon has some deep inner power to resist the fumes, but it's not just inner power. Leiddon is literally immune to every poison on the planet. He's basically a human air purifier at this point. The man tells Leiddon to hurry up and go to sleep, reaching out with a handful of powder. Leiddon just stares at him. "Who are you?" The man gives his title Doc Meringue, the Poison Beauty Lad. Imagine calling yourself that, and expecting people to take you seriously. Leiddon's internal database triggers. Doc Meringue, a freak, who specializes in hallucinogens and weird toxins. Not a fighter, just a professional pest. Doc is confused. Leiddon hasn't collapsed yet. He's starting to get nervous. He's never met someone this young who can tank his signature move. Leiddon just sighs. He's tired of these C-tier villains interrupting his reading time. Doc tries to act tough, telling Leiddon to just give up and die. Leiddon moves. 1 second he's standing there. The next he's a blur of purple-tinted violence. He slams Doc into the wall so hard the masonry cracks. Doc coughs up blood. He's realizing he just brought a knife to a nuke fight. He looks up at Leiddon and for the first time sees the martial god's eyes. Leiddon towers over him, looking absolutely disgusted. Doc tries to scramble away, but Leiddon is already there. Doc is screaming internally. Doc wonders why the poison isn't working. It's supposed to be an instant KO. Leiddon doesn't answer, just looking at Doc like he's a particularly annoying bug. Leiddon reaches into Doc's bag and pulls out a vial. Doc tries to bluff, saying, "You'll never find the antidote." Leiddon pops the cork and takes a deep sniff. Doc starts laughing maniacally. "Fool, you inhaled it, you're dead." Leiddon just blinks. "It's a bit fruity," he remarks. "Needs more kick." Doc's face falls. He's looking at a monster. He finally asks the question, "Are you immune to poison?" Leiddon ignores him, shoving another vial in his face. Doc is shaking, utterly terrified. Leiddon's silent stare is suffocating as he asks a simple question. "If it's your own poison, it kills you too, right?" Leiddon asks, wondering if Doc even has an antidote for his own stuff. Doc doesn't answer, too busy trying not to cry. Leiddon shoves the vial into his mouth and Doc starts gagging. Leiddon demands the antidote for his squad. If not, he's going to make Doc drink his entire inventory. Doc breaks immediately. He points to a specific pouch. Cut back to the courtyard. Gal and Zhang are waking up, clutching their heads like they've just had the worst hangover in history. Leiddon walks out of the pagoda. Doc trails behind him like a beaten dog, begging to be released since he did what Leiddon asked. Leiddon doesn't even look back. With a simple flick of his wrist, Doc Myong's head is cleanly separated from his body. After all, Leon never promised to spare him. Leon stands over the corpse, completely unfazed. A shaky Gal and Jiang approach, with Gal asking if Leon is all right. Jiang stares at the body, his eyes wide with recognition. He knows this man, the infamous Poison Beauty. This was a top-tier assassin. The soldiers slowly stagger to their feet, looking confused and disoriented. Gal turns to Leon, asking him what exactly went down in there. Leon gives them the simplified new guy version of events. He was just exploring, ran into the assassin, and luckily had some antidote on hand. Gal narrows his eyes, clearly skeptical. He knows luck doesn't usually result in a decapitated S-rank assassin, but he decides not to press the issue. Instead, he just places a hand on Leon's shoulder and says, "Thanks again." Leon responds with his signature humble merchant smile. He's the undisputed MVP of being in the right place at the right time. Jiang and Gao exchange a look. They have a choice to make. Gal insists they need to get moving, warning that the Alliance will send reinforcements if they don't see a smoke signal soon. Jiang asks the million-dollar question, where do we go? Leon